Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. Please do not swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as this increases the live audience, of course, and that in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior and the Rumpus. How are you both doing, gentlemen?
All is good, all is good.
Okay.
I'm hoping that Ranty makes an appearance. He's got some evidence that I want to cite. Ranty, if you're out there, Ranty, and you're listening, can you at least contact me on Skype? Get your ass out of bed and do what you need to do and send me over some documents. Because I want some documents that I want to rely upon in the next 10 minutes or so. He should be around. He normally is.
Yeah, it would be nice to discuss with him this claim, this picture of the turbine. Yes, get some information out of him if he wants me to evaluate the latest set of turbine and hills thing that Monk modelled, because I've already invalidated the one he did with the Berber Bank extension and the one from the underneath the pier, but I don't have the composite or whatever it was he did, and then second position that he did. I could then, because that's the one I think Monk's modelled, isn't it? And claims to the turbine should be at the top of the mountain or something.
Not sure. You need to speak to Ranty on that. He's the one that's been paying attention. I know the gist of it, but I wouldn't want to be precise with regards to it.
Has Monk made a presentation about this modelling of the turbines and the Welsh mountains?
Well, let's call him by his name. His name's Chris.
Okay, Chris. Sorry. Okay, yeah, right, Chris.
Has he made a presentation about the? I don't think he's made a presentation. No, I think he's done the.
He's just done the modelling.
I've got two photos of what the mountains in the background should look like compared to what the mountains in the background look like on a flat plane.
No, what you've got is his flawed model of what he thinks.
Oh, right. So you're asserting without seeing the evidence that he's incompetent.
Oh, yes.
On what basis would you make that assertion without even seeing them?
Because that's what he's done. His previous record has demonstrated that's what he is.
Come on, you haven't even seen the evidence. How can you make the assertion?
Well, okay. You can see. Well, I've seen the results. I saw the turbine. I mean, every single thing that he's done. I mean, okay, he managed to download the lidar data, so I have to give him credit. Actually, I'm amazed for someone of his abilities that he was actually able to get the lidar data and convert it into form into his model. So he did. I have to give him credit for that.
But you were amazed with me the other day when I suggested 3 different mobile devices might get you different results when you use the theodolite app.
Yes, that did impress me. Your thinking there. Yes, that's the first time I think I've ever realised you do actually try. Well, you can think in terms of how someone who's like George Nataliuk, for instance, who's was a professional at measuring things. That's the sort of thing you do, and that's the sort of approach you need to have to come to any conclusions. And you're actually checking your work there, which is something that's not, doesn't happen on this channel. But so there, you're thinking the right way.
Well, I'd like to check some work of yours, if I may, Rumpus.
That's fine.
The other day, and I do have the sound file, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it.
You're talking about the 25 for £25. You could go and check the angle of the horizon. That's what you're referring to, is it?
Yes. I'd like to just discuss the practicalities of that with you, if I may. I mean, let's for the sake of discussion, let's assume and accept that I have the theodolite in my hand.
Okay.
Let's accept and assume that I'm stood on the beach with said appliance, and I've got the tripod set.
Sorry to interrupt you, but just to say, the idea here is to get the maximum angle of the dip. So you're preferable to get up as high as possible. So St. B's head would be much better. So you get a bigger angle to play with. If you'd write down.
Well, normally you see it. Normally seems to be the case that what's his face, Sly Sparkane suggests that we should do all these things on the beach.
Yeah,
is that not the position anymore?
I don't. It's never been my position, because you are going to be subject to. You see things like George Nataliuk's experiment, where he's trying to do he did it last year, where he's measuring the
George who? Sorry.
George Natayuk. He's in Michigan. He did this experiment, which I was heavily involved with. He did in last year, but unfortunately, the ice started to melt on his frozen lake, and he's doing it again now. It's the very moment he's doing it again. So he's got a YouTube channel which he's putting up reports of his this year's experiment based on all of the stuff he managed to get sorted last year. He found, for instance, that if you got very, very low with he was using an auto level. I mean, we talk about the term theodolite, but there are lots of those sort of yellow things that surveyors use, and he has got something called an auto leveler, which is doing what I want you would be able to do, which is what you need to be able to do. But theodolites will do this in general. The auto level is a more accurate way of measuring the dip. It tries just to find a horizontal. This is the thing that Chris Monk goes on about, finding horizontals, though he doesn't know how it's done. There is a device for
does or doesn't know, because you don't know that he doesn't know these things.
Well,
you believe.
Well, I've seen the evidence suggests that he's demonstrated when he was asked in the Steve McRae. No, not Steve McRae. Yes, it was Steve McRae. He was asked how you go about surveying something, and he gave a very, very poor answer. And when George was asked the same question, he gave a much better answer based on the fact that he'd only known about how to use theodolites and things for 6 months.
In your opinion?
Oh, well, I could tell the difference. Anybody independent, objective analysis of what Chris Monk was saying. But he's not a surveyor, of course. He's never. If he claims on the Patricia show, he's never claimed he's a surveyor.
I'll be honest, Rumpus. I don't know what he claims to be. I don't know what he is. I just know that he does a lot of stuff that I can't do, and therefore I give way to him on everything because
that's bad.
I want to argue from a position of ignorance.
Anyway, so going back to the thing the practicality. So I was just pointing out that George Natayuk, I don't think the Sly's idea of taking it from the shore level is such a great idea, because that's where you for a start you get. I mean, we've observed the standard refraction that I keep on going about, the 7.6R. That is what happens if it follows that graph you may have seen me use. But of course, we know that with you get temperature inversions that cause what you call the floaty land effect or dirty air, which is another sort of refraction that's caused by temperature inversions very close to the horizon. So if you start if you start sitting very close on the beach to sea level, you are going to be in that air more than you need to be, and you don't need to be down there to demonstrate the curvature of the Earth. So it's a good idea to. I know I'm disagreeing with Sly here. I mean, it's just to get above most of that.
I would agree completely.
And then at least I know. So it's only when it hits the horizon, because when you actually look along and you're hitting the horizon, remember when you're seeing those waves on the horizon, you're actually looking through just a few feet of air, and that only requires that little bit of heat coming in from the sun, warming up the sea. It's going to do that much more than the air, and then you're going to get a temperature inversion that causes what you call dirty air, but it's just an inversion layer very close to the surface of water. So if you can avoid that, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes, I approve of going up as high as possible. Certainly for this experiment, which we're thinking conceptual about. Yes, getting up on top of, say, Bee's Head, or in fact better, even better. That's fine. I mean, even probably the height of the cliff that you went to and took, the 115 feet cliff, that would probably be sufficient. But the St. Bee's Head would be even better. And if you could find a mountain near you that overlook the sea, that would be even better. Again, you get nice, even bigger values of the dip.
So what I've got on screen, can you see
my
my screen?
Sorry, can I just interrupt a second? I'm a bit confused. So Anthony's talking about measuring curvature, and you seem to have conflated these two things, dip and curvature. So can you just explain the difference, please, Rumpus?
Right. Well, okay. Well, I can draw. I've got a diagram here that will show. If you let me present here, I can present how it relates to one another. Right, so here is, can you see that?
Give me one sec.
Is it sharing?
Yes, I see what you have.
Right, okay. Right, so let me put. So
this is the one where the observer's in space, isn't it?
That's right. But just for demonstrative purposes, I tell you, I'm more than happy to use a properly scaled diagram. But if I do so, every time you say this, I'm going to have to then show you. I do have a scaled version of this here of the St. Bee's situation. Here we go. Now, if you want me to start drawing in, this is you. In fact, this is you with your. These are your cliffs here. You can see at the top, right? You may even be able to see. I've even drawn in the tripod. This is you.
Yes.
At 35 meters, and I've actually drawn it in the scaled up version of there. So this actually represents what the Earth actually looks like if you zoom into it.
Can you
And
show
that's the
me
curvature.
on
But if
that
I start
diagram,
drawing in-
please, Rumpus? Could you just show me the dip on that diagram, please?
Right, I haven't drawn this time because you can see that the lines are so close together. I'm going to have to. You can see what I have drawn is the line that connects the base.
Sorry, is this going to be a case where I have to ask you this question 42 times? Where is the dip in this diagram?
Okay, I'll draw it in for you then. Okay, I will show you what the problem is in doing what you're requesting. So the dip.
Sorry, did you say what the problem is? Are you about to not show me the dip, or are you about to show me a dip? Because as far as I can see on this diagram, there is no dip. So you've just said, I'm going to explain the problem.
Yeah, but this is to scale. So if it's to scale,
so it's to scale. It's problematic, Nathan. As you can see here, these lines are very, very long and thin. And you can see here, here's a line, for instance, joining the base of the two items, and that's the curvature of them. I mean, to you, that probably looks like a straight line. So drawing a diagram with the things in it to scale is very problematic, because here we've got something that's represented. Whereas I was proposing, for clarity's sake, I mean,
to get clarity, we don't want an exaggerate.
Clarity, great, which means I can then use this diagram.
No, sorry. Can you just go back to the scale diagram and either explain why you haven't shown me a dip, or show me a dip, please? Go back to the scale diagram, please, Rumpus, if you wouldn't mind, and explain why there is no dip.
There is dip, and I've got it here.
Can you go back to the scale diagram and show it us again, please?
Right. How problematic that's going to be to show that angle. On
that's
that
our point, Rumpus.
That's our point.
Okay.
Can you go back and explain that for us, please, Rumpus?
But here's what conceptually it is. And
this is not the diagram I'm interested in. This is based in space. That was pointed out immediately.
I mean, very few people can do what I'm about to try and do here. Demonstrating things to scale.
Very few people can demonstrate this curvature or dip. Yes, we appreciate that, Rumpus. That's why we're holding your toes to the fire with the scale model that doesn't have any dip.
Can I just quote your words, Rumpus? And I can replay them if you'd like me to. But you said, if you get a theodolite for about £25, you can very easily, with one calculation, prove to yourself the radius of the Earth. They were your words.
Absolutely correct.
Right. So why is it that difficult to show us when we're asking you to demonstrate?
Well, here is the
not that one.
No, but you see, I don't.
No,
have to show you...
we're not in space.
Hold on, Anthony. Let me finish, Rumpus. Anthony, let me finish the sentence. I can show you conceptually what the calculation is. I don't need to have a scale graph.
Oh, we can only conceptualize this, so we can't actually be shown a dip. We can only be shown Rumpus's conception. Can we mathematically qualify Rumpus's conception? Can we scientifically prove Rumpus's conception? Is this something that we can do in science, or is it just something that's conceptual? Because if it's just conceptual, Rumpus, I'm not really that interested. You had a scale model, you said we could look for dip, and then you said there's a big problem with that. Then you didn't actually explain the problem, you just went back to your original diagram that we said we weren't interested in because it's based in space. So, can you please, this is I think the second time of asking, go back to the scale diagram and show us the dip, please, Rumpus. Is that going to be a possibility? Are you going to show us that? You're going to go back to this, you just seem to stay on this diagram, you're not moving it. That's why I'm not presenting you, Rumpus. So can you go back to your scale picture and show us the dip that you said that would prove curve, which dip and curve aren't the same thing, but you seem to have just ignored that point and completely conflated these two things, then ignored the fact that there is no dip on your scale model drawing. So I'm a bit confused, Rumpus. Can you please explain this to us? It's just you seem to not be bothering and you're still not moving your diagram. I don't really get it. Rumpus? Can you go over to your scale drawing, please? I've got 2 hours. I can sit here all day, mate. I don't mind. Rumpus, you don't seem to be listening to me. Can you move your drawing to the scale model drawing so that we can see why you don't have dip?
When I've been allowed to get a sentence out, I will do as you request. Right, so my sentence is, you do not need scale diagrams to perform mathematical calculations. And I felt that this diagram would make it clear for Anthony to understand what he's doing, but I can just give him a mathematical equation and say, Anthony, go away, measure the dip angle, stick it into a very simple equation, and out pops the radius of the Earth.
Right, so if we're measuring the dip angle, I don't need to see the maths. That comes later. Can we talk about the dip angle that you want me to measure?
Right, but can you see? All I'm trying to do is to show that where the dip angle. So here's the horizontal for the observer, and I'm just trying to see what the dip angle is. Now, I will now draw
the ISS, though, Rumpus, right?
Sorry.
That's the
It
observer.
is very
on
high.
the-
Yes, I agree to scale. If you were to take this as a scale diagram, then indeed, in fact, it would actually be at the height of the ice. You're actually correct there, Anthony. Well worked out. And this obviously building would be 1,000 miles high. But can you not see that I can show you what the dip angle is here clearly? Now, if I can now go to the scale
At this
diagram.
point, I'm not interested in the maths. I want to talk about the dip angle that we can measure first.
Right, well, there's the
Talk
dip
about
angle.
the maths
Okay,
afterwards.
Anthony, if you want to talk about the dip angle, there it is there.
I
That is the
understand.
dip angle.
But I understand. But can we go to real world observations?
Okay,
Let's
you
go
want
into the
me to
maths
go to the scale
afterwards.
diagram? Okay, I will now try and draw this diagram on the scale diagram, which is a bit like what Chris Monk was doing. But you saw when he was showing you the model, he was having to zoom in and out like crazy to do the same thing. So I will now try and draw in here, which is a very tricky thing to do, the same for the dip angle. So you can see here, there's the curve. So if I now need to get the line here.
Sorry, can I just clarify that as well? Where's the curve?
Right, this blue line. Okay, because this is the scale and the Earth is very, very big. This blue line you can see here is the curve of the Earth as it is in real life to scale across 6. So this represents 68. This represents St. Bees to Douglas, and this distance along here is 68 kilometers. That is a curve. It may not look like it, but that's because I've drawn it to scale. But if you zoom in, you can see this purple line. That is the straight line.
So
that
that
is
would
the
be
line
the
that
dip,
connects
correct?
the two.
Right. I understand that that's going to
Correct.
be the representation of the dip.
Right.
But
So
what I'd like to do.
So now what you're saying is you want me to, and I'll go to little Anthony here on top of the cliffs. There he is to scale, hiding in there. This is all to scale.
Yeah.
Right, so this is the sort of thing that Chris Monk's doing. So now what you want me to do is to draw a line. So here we go. We're trying to. We're going here. This now it's also reaching the. This is the very limit of the zoom, and this program is limited to doing this. So here we have. I'm going to draw a line then. Whoops, and see the line. I think it's absolutely huge. I'm going to have to make that much smaller. Much smaller again. So this most drawing programs can't do what I'm demonstrating. You need a special modeling program.
Like, and of course, the reason for this, of course, is that the amount that we're talking about here would be negligible. Correct?
What, the dip angle?
Yes.
No, well, it's the size of the moon. If you were at the top of St. Bees, the dip angle would be the size.
What do you mean the size of the moon?
Angular size.
Okay.
So it's quite substantial. I mean, in fact, I can show you. I'll show you what. In fact, here you are. I can show you. I've got a. If I
hang on, just stay on topic. I want you to.
Well, okay. Here, I want to show you, demonstrate here the angle. That picture that Ranty took, for instance, of the Welsh mountains with the wind turbines. You see, and you can see
where's the dip angle gone? I'm still not clear about the dip angle. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm about to show you a graphic illustration of the dip angle, Nathan. A real one. This is in Ranty's picture. Here is the dip angle from there to there. This is 0.072 degrees in this picture that Ranty took of the wind turbine in the Burbank and with, Penny Claudio there on the left. This dotted line, which is the one that you see in Peak Finder that causes you so much confusion, represents the eye level, the horizontal for the observer. And the dip angle for him, for Ranty taking this picture, is 0.072. Which is not as big as the moon because he was obviously quite a lot, he was quite low when he took that picture. But that's the dip angle. That's what that represents. That is the dip angle there. So that's what it will. So you can see it's not negligible. If you zoom it up like you do with a P900, it's not negligible. It goes through these turbines. That's the dip angle there. So now let's try and emulate that in my.
Well, you've just kind of made half the point now. I think I really want to move. At this point, Rumpus, we don't need the maths.
Okay, I wasn't showing you maths. I was showing you numbers.
Okay, well, it sounds like maths. I'm not.
No, I was showing you the real world dip angle for Ranty's photograph. How much more real can that be?
But I'm trying to address what you said in your previous comment, which was you could hire a theodolite for £25 for the day, go to the beach at St. Bees, which now might be the cliff, and then you could look out to the horizon and you could record the dip angle and basically calculate the radius of the right.
I mean, even this picture of Ranty demonstrates this. If Ranty had a theodolite with him and he took this picture of the hills and the wind turbines, he would see, even for his very low position he was on, was it 11 meters or something, no, 5.5 meters, you still get this dip angle, and he could have measured that with theodolite because that's on the he could have measured that.
All right,
So-
Rumpus, let me ask you this then. I'm going to share my screen now because we're at the crescendo of the point that I want you to address. I don't want you to address the maths at this point.
That wasn't maths. That was giving you the values.
Okay,
Maths
but I want you to address what. Just look at this for a sec.
Okay.
This is a photo that we took of Mackle Lighthouse from on top of the hill. Okay.
Right.
Now this is a picture taken on the beach of looking out towards turbines. Now we've got two positions of elevation that we can consider, and you can pick either or you can pick both. I don't really mind. What I've done is I've got them both side by side. I've screenshotted them and I've put them into Paint. And what I want you to do for me, if you don't mind, is let me just click there, put them in. So there's the two photos side by side. We can do it with either one line or we can do it with two lines. And all I want you to do, Rumpus, is tell me
what the dip angle is, where the dotted line that I've put in on Ranty's photograph. You want me to draw that in on here?
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it in that color, for instance. I'm going to put a nice thin line so that, well, I'll do it on the middle one so that other people can see it. I'll hold down Shift key and that puts in a dead straight line. Now, what I want you to do is tell me, where would you put your theodolite when you're looking through the lens? Where would you put it in terms of the horizon? Would you say?
Now, remember what we're doing. We're trying to describe here that dotted line. We're trying to find the dotted line that represents the horizontal for the observer. That's right. That's what you're after, aren't we?
We're gonna put this line on.
Right, but the thing is, but hold on. I need to know the observer height to do that, Anthony.
Well, at the moment, we're just like, imagine that we're looking through the crosshairs of the theodolite.
But hold on, Anthony, you're not listening. It's entirely dependent on the observer height. The only thing that sets the position of this zero, because obviously it's at your eye level. The whole point, this line that we're trying to draw in now, is the eye level for the observer at 0 degrees. Now, it's the horizontal. In other words, if you stretch out, this is the thing that Nathan keeps on going back, from your feet or whatever eye level you want to pick, you take out the tangent to the earth, it's the horizontal there, and where is that going to hit?
Right.
The objects you're looking at.
I understand, but right now...
The final punchline, but I can only do that if I know the observer height. So if you don't give me the observer height for these pictures, I can't do it. But I can do it for Ranty's photograph because he told me the observer height, and I can do it for the pictures of the Isle of Man because I know what your observer height was.
Do you understand that when you level the theodolite, it's irrelevant to the height at this point? You've just leveled it, and you now know that it's flat.
No, you're dipping down. When you say level it, you don't understand what level. You level it to the height of the observer.
Correct.
Right, you're not understanding the diagram. You're not understanding what's going on.
What I'm saying is, we've just leveled it. So now we're looking down the crosshairs and we're trying to get the level, the horizon point, so that we can measure the dip angle.
But I can. Right, I have to say it again. The position of the zero, the horizontal, is dependent on the observer height.
Right, I understand, but we've leveled.
So you have to give me the observer height for these pictures, then I can do it.
Right, all right. Well, we'll go with the beach one. He's on the beach at 3 feet. He's on the sand. Okay.
But I also need to know. Yes, actually, when I said I drew that dotted line in, I also need to know the resolution of your picture to know where to position it exactly. So I need 2 bits of information.
Rumpus, you're supposed to be imagining this as though you're looking down the sights of the theodolite after you've leveled it to your 3 feet height. What's the problem here? All you got to do is put where the horizon's going to be, because that's what we're testing.
No. Well, you can see where the horizon is. You've got confused again. Hold on.
No, I haven't got confused again. What I'm asking you is tell me where the horizon is.
Right. Hold on. Look, let me just show you the target because you're not understanding what's going on here.
No, I do understand it.
I'm asking you tell me where the horizon
is so we can measure.
You really don't. There are 2 things going on here. This is why you see. It's very
Rumpus, it's a straightforward point. Where's the horizon that you would set your optics to? Would you go, all right, let me ask you this.
No, you don't set your optics to the horizon. You set them, you use a little bubble in the theodolite.
Yes.
There is a thing that sets it to the horizontal.
Yes. So, but when you're looking through the theodolite for your crosshairs in the middle.
Hold on. Can you see my thing here? Because I can show you, hopefully you can see this, Anthony. What the theodolite does, it draws this pink line. Can you see this? Can you see this pink line here that I've got, which is the horizontal for the observer? And I've got 2 observers here, one at one.
Sorry, this is not a level transit. So from what I can see in this diagram, Rumpus, the camera is pointing down. Is it not?
Sorry?
The camera is pointing down.
That's correct. For the pictures that you're looking at there, that will be
right. So this is totally and utterly useless then, is it not?
No, because you can see in the angle of the theodolite how much the horizon
Sorry,
is
this
below.
example is not of a level transit. This is an example of a camera pointing down.
That's why you need a theodolite to work out what the
Right,
angle
so
is.
this example is not of a theodolite with a level transit. This is of a camera pointing down.
Of Anthony's picture.
This is of a camera pointing down and not of a theodolite with a level transit. This is a fallacious, useless, pointless example. I'll get it off the screen because it's useless to everybody. Absolutely useless.
What's the this you're referring to?
Rumpus. I want you
Nathan's
to put yourself
obviously
into a
some
position.
incoherent gibberish mode here. I don't understand what he's just saying.
Rumpus, I know.
No, I'll explain it just for Rumpus. You have just explained in great detail that in order to achieve a measurement of the dip angle, you must first level your transit and then reference the horizon to get the dip angle. Then you have gone to an example. That example does not in any way depict a theodolite with a level transit. It depicts a camera pointing down.
What does? Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to again.
Yeah, the picture that I've just taken off that is no longer being presented because it is utterly fallacious and pointless and in no way references what you are talking about.
Right, Nathan, please.
So I don't know what you're referring to. I have no idea what you're referring to.
Right, the picture that you just had up, I'll explain it again, Rumpus. You have just taken Anthony step by step through how to calculate a dip angle using a theodolite. First, you must level the transit of that theodolite. Then you measure the dip angle in comparison to your level transit. You have then gone to a depiction, a picture that shows the camera pointing down.
No, my camera here, my diagram here, yes, but the point is that's the eye.
Sorry, I heard yes, yes, and then went on to the pointers. So
Right,
I am
okay,
correct.
let me
The camera is pointing
trouble is,
down.
Nathan,
It
you're
in
not
no
allowing me to
way
finish a
represents what you are describing.
Here we go again. Okay, I'm going to have to ignore what you're saying. Right. The theodolite, you align it to the level transit. That is correct. You actually got that right. So what I've got the eye doing is looking at the horizon through the theodolite, and there is a dip angle. You can see the crosshairs. You can measure in the theodolite where that horizon is with respect to the crosshairs. So that the theodolite provides you with these level transit, and then you see where the horizon is with respect to the crosshairs.
Right. Stop. That's the point we're at. You see where the horizon is relative to the crosshairs.
Yes, but you make sure the crosshairs are not. You make sure the crosshairs are at a level transit for the observer, at horizontal for the observer. So you then got a difference.
So that's
like
this
that
is the point where we're at now.
Let me just finish. The dotted line that I drew on Ranty's photograph is where the crosshairs would be for the theodolite, and then you then can compare what the dotted line, which on my diagram was a dotted line, versus the horizon. You can say, aha, there's an angular difference there between the dotted line, which is what the theodolite would put in, the crosshairs, and the horizon. That angle is the dip angle.
Right. So at that point, let me interject now, because this is the point that I want you to do for me, because this is the bit that I'm not that straight on, okay?
Okay.
Are you looking at my screen?
I am.
You can see the black line that I've got.
Yes.
I want you to tell me where you want me to put that to represent the horizon on either.
No, it doesn't represent the horizon. You see, you keep on using the wrong word for it. It's the zero. It's the transit. It's the 0 degrees horizontal for the observer. It's not a horizon.
But we've just leveled the transit. We're now trying to point it at the horizon the way you said.
No, we're not trying to point it at the horizon. No, you see, you don't understand what you're doing. The crosshairs in the theodolite are fixed. You don't move them around.
I know. I'm moving the crosshairs around because I can't move the camera. Obviously, it's a still photo. So this is the representation of moving the theodolite up and down.
No, you don't move the theodolite up and down. The theodolite, you just set the theodolite up, and it sets its crosshairs on whatever you happen to be looking at, and they're arbitrary. Then you measure the.
I can't move the photo up and down, Rumpus. Do you understand that I'm having to replicate that with the black line?
Okay, let me.
Rumpus, stay on point. Your words were, for £25, you could hire a theodolite for the day, point it at the horizon, and calculate the dip angle.
No, you don't point it at. Well, when I say point at the horizon, you go in the general direction of the horizon. Just like if you look at my screen at the moment.
No.
Hold on. This is what you would see, Anthony. I'm trying to show you what you would actually see through the theodolite on my screenshot, which is the Ranty photograph.
Sorry, can I just ask a quick question then? In that case, is Ranty's picture taken through a theodolite that has been leveled?
Doesn't make any difference.
Sorry. The
This
point that you are making is that we need to go with the theodolite and level the transit. So, I'll ask a second time. Is Ranty's picture of a theodolite with a level transit?
Was it? You didn't. That didn't actually make a sense of the sentence.
The answer is no, Rumpus.
If you were saying, did he use a theodolite? No, he didn't. But this is what you would see through a theodolite.
So why is it, Rumpus, that when Anthony asks you to put a deduced horizon into his pictures, you refuse, yet with Ranty's pictures, you are more than content to add this deduced horizon and calculate a dip angle from it, even though it is not a picture taken through a theodolite, it definitely is not a level transit, and it has no crosshairs to reference. So I'm a little bit confused. Why is it that you are unwilling to do it with Anthony's picture and willing to do it with Ranty's picture, even though neither have been taken through a theodolite and neither have a level transit and neither have a crosshair to actually reference it? Why is that? I don't really understand.
I'm trying to give you an answer. Right, this is what you would see through the theodolite, and you can use Ranty's picture because I can give you an impression of what you would see through the theodolite.
Right, so you can give me an impression. Right, that sounds like just nonsense. I don't want to be quantifying your impressions of things. I don't care.
I'm telling you, this is what Anthony would see through his theodolite when he'd levelled it. This dotted line here represents the crosshairs, and if he was looking at the Welsh mountains and the
Yeah, I've just said all this. I don't care what you represent in terms of what a theodolite might or might not do. It is not a picture taken through a theodolite.
What do you want to say?
Stop a sec. You're wasting time, and I want
you this is what you, Anthony, don't you want to know what you would see?
Rumpus,
Anthony, this is what you would see.
No, Rumpus, listen. Can you share my screen, please, Nath?
Yeah, sure.
Right, do you recognise the picture on screen, Rumpus?
Yeah.
Isn't this the picture that you put a deduced horizon on, yes or no?
Correct.
Right, so you were able to put a deduced horizon on this picture. I'm asking you to do the same thing as though you were looking down the scope of a theodolite. Where would the deduced horizon be on either picture? Please tell me where it is and put it in where you're happy
You
with.
keep on calling it a horizon. It isn't a horizon. You can see where the horizon is. You're asking me, hold on, you're asking me to put the eye level horizontal for the observer. For that, you need to know where the observer is, and you haven't.
3 feet, Rumpus. We've discussed
telling me that, but then you're
where
saying that,
is the horizon for the sake of this illustration.
And I need 2 bits of information, Anthony. Okay, let's go through slowly. I need to know the observer, and you're saying it's 3 feet. Okay, I mean, perhaps that might be true, but I also need to know the resolution of the photograph. Now, with the Ranty photograph, I worked out the pixels.
So I'm a bit confused. Why do we need a theodolite at all?
Because you need to know where the horizontal is.
Right.
Sorry, if you can do this, sorry, Anthony, bear with me. Just bear with me, Anthony. If you can do this with just knowing the observer height and the resolution, why do we need a theodolite at all?
Because you need to know where the crosshairs would appear.
So do you know that with Ranty's picture? Is that something that you have got absolutely unequivocally sorted in Ranty's picture?
Correct.
No, you haven't. You haven't got a theodolite. That's why you need it. You've just explained that to us.
Right. But no, but Anthony, yes, but Anthony...
Sorry, yes, but means you have just conceded. Is that what yes, but means? That you don't have a theodolite picture from Ranty, you don't have one from Anthony, you are deducing these things. It's a guess.
Yes, but I'm saying that Anthony can end up
it's
with a
guess.
like the one that I've got.
I'm not interested in your guesswork.
I'm interested in his guesswork. For the purposes of your
I don't care about his guesswork.
I'm saying
in the slightest.
Anthony can actually experience what I've drawn. You see, I have made up this impression that you don't like.
Yeah, I know you've made up stuff. I know you've made up stuff, like this horizon that you've deduced, and like the theodolite markings that you've put on Ranty's picture, even though it's not from a theodolite. That's just you inventing stuff and making it up on the spot.
I am predicting what Anthony will see through the theodolite. And if he goes and sees what I've... Because you're going to complain that I've made this up or whatever, but I'm telling you, this is what Anthony would see.
Go and do it. Go and do it, you keyboard warrior. Go and do it.
Right, stop. Right, listen, Rumpus, you have deduced a horizon on evidence before, and I've shouted at you for it because it's deduced. Right, and I'm asking you to do the same thing right now based on the fact that you've already done it before.
Right.
Why was it you were able to do it before and you're not able to do it now?
I'll explain that very carefully. There are 2 horizons I've inferred from. One was because I'm looking across the horizon, and I was able to use features of the ground and the beach.
Right, so why can't you do that right now?
Because I'm looking along the view.
Rumpus.
So but but we're
So how accurate were you with regards to the yellow one then?
yes, but Anthony, we're trying to do two different things here.
Yes, we are, but the point is, you should be able to deduce a horizon here, Rumpus.
Anthony,
Otherwise, how are we expected to do it?
Anthony, we can see the horizon. I don't need to deduce it in the dark.
Right, so please place the line for where you would expect
right,
the horizon.
But that's not a horizon, Anthony. That is the 0 degree horizontal for the user. And I was only able to do it on Ranty's picture because I was able to work out using the angular separation of the mountains to work out the resolution of the picture.
Rumpus, you can't have it two ways. You either can deduce a horizon with the yellow line, which you've done before, or you cannot. So if you cannot do it on this occasion, which I would say is blatantly obvious, if you can't do it, what would you expect us to do with a theodolite on the beach?
Anthony, that's not a horizon that we're trying to deduce on your pictures. We're trying to deduce...
You said you could measure the angle drop.
Right, let's do this slowly. We can see the horizon. I don't need to deduce the horizon, whereas in your pictures... Well,
I'm asking you to deduce the horizon.
Right, which are you referring to your... Are you referring to the picture you're showing me of the one you were just showing me of the ones of the Morgold Lighthouse? Is that what you're referring to now?
You can pick either. I don't care which.
Okay.
One's on top of the hill, which is your request. The other one is on the beach.
Okay.
I don't care which.
Anthony, please let me finish my sentence. Anthony, we can see the horizon. We don't need to deduce any horizons. That's a completely separate problem from you with the staff trying to measure the angle at St. Bees.
No, I'm not on about what I'm saying is you were capable of deducing a horizon on that picture, and I'm asking you to deduce the horizon on this.
Anthony, you
so
keep
that we
on
can
asking
illustrate
me to
something.
deduce the horizon. We can see the horizon. I don't need to deduce anything. We can see the damn horizon.
So where can I drop this for the horizon?
Right, right now. So now
can I drop it there, Rumpus? Would you be happy with that, or would you like it a bit higher?
Right, Anthony. We're not trying to deduce the position of the horizon. Do you understand?
Yes, we are. We're sat on the beach with the theodolite for 25 quid. We've paid the money with her. We're doing the experiment. We're looking down the lens.
So what you're asking
the horizon, and that's where the crosshair is.
You're asking
lined it up, Rumpus. We're trying to measure the drop.
Your question.
This is difficult.
The question you're asking me is where will the crosshairs appear? That's the question you should.
No, I'm asking you to set the tilt so that we can.
No, you don't set tilts on a theodolite. You set it to 0.
I know, but you're going to tilt the camera down, aren't you, Rumpus? So what I'm asking you is,
no, you don't tilt the camera down. You measure the angle of something like the horizon is below the crosshairs.
But I can't move the picture, can I? So wherever the horizontal element is.
If you let me finish a sentence, you will see this. Anthony, please let me finish. Just have 20 seconds, for goodness sake.
Go on then.
Right, thanks. Thank you very much for that, Anthony. That's very considerate. Anthony, what we're trying to do, you're asking me to do in this photograph, is to tell you where the crosshairs, not the horizon, where the crosshairs of a theodolite would appear. That's the question you're asking me. And then from that, we can work out the angle, because we can then see the horizon in the picture. And we can say, oh, look, and then you'll have a little scale inside the theodolite where you can measure the angular difference. So what you're asking me is not to give you the horizon, because we can see that. We can see where the horizon is. Yes, you're asking me where the crosshairs will only do that. I can only do that with 2 pieces of information. You've given me one about the observer height, and the other one, which I did with Ranty's photograph, is by knowing the resolution of the pixels. And I was able to do that with Ranty's thing because I was able to find other features in the photograph that I knew the distance of, and therefore I could work out the angle was there, and then I was able to draw that dotted line. Without you providing me that information or having a feature.
You don't need that information when you're sat on the beach with the theodolite. We are sat there. We've just paid the 25 quid. We've got the tripod. We've opened it out. We've leveled it. And now we're looking down the optics at the horizon. And I'm asking you, where would the line be to represent the measured horizon? Where can we put it?
Right. It will appear there, Anthony. It will appear there. You see, Right, so it will appear there for you. The dotted line of the crosshair will appear there for you. But
so there's going to be another line, isn't there, above it that will represent true level, correct?
No, the crosshairs are true level. That's what will appear in the crosshairs.
All right. So at this point, if you're happy that
the crosshairs are representative of true level because you have leveled the theodolite. That's what having a level transit means.
Yes,
So yes, it does represent true level, correct?
Well, what does? Refer to what you're referring to.
A level transit. The word level is in there for a reason. The word level, when you say leveling your transit, means something. It means exactly what it says. It means level. Does it not?
The crosshairs will appear at the level, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction. I don't know why you say incorrect statements and assert them really strongly, only to then completely disagree with yourself only moments later.
You're confused. So Anthony, when
It's because you are completely disingenuous, Rumpus. That was my point. I'm just pointing out that you are totally and utterly disingenuous.
Anthony, when you go and take the theodolite there, you will have the crosshairs appearing at some level above that sand that that horizon.
Right.
So you will have an angular separation.
I agree.
And I can tell you ahead of time. You see, the thing is, I can tell you ahead of time what that would be if I knew some information in your photograph. But your photograph doesn't have features like the two mountain tops that I can measure the angle between. So I can't tell you.
We have a picture, right? We are able to deduce a horizon, and you're saying that we can calculate it by measuring it by showing the optics on the drop, correct?
I didn't understand that statement.
Sorry, did you just say you... Hold on, just a second, Anthony. I'm really sorry. Did you just say you measured the angle to the mountain? And was that an arc calculation, Rumpus?
Yeah, if you're... Right, so if we've got Ranty's thing here...
I'll ask the question again. Was the angle that you just said you took an arc calculation? Because it seems like you've just said you took an angle.
Are you talking about this picture here?
Are you going to answer my question?
Well, I'm not to know. Make sure I know what you're referring to. If you're referring to this,
you've just said you took an angle to the mountain. So I assume by that you took a straight line to that mountain. Yes or no?
I took a straight line to the mountain. I don't know what you mean by that.
You said you measured an angle to the mountain. Correct?
Right, I deduced the resolution of the photograph in Ranty's thing that I'm showing at the moment, which presumably you're not showing because you don't like me showing evidence.
You just said you took an angle to the mountain. I assume that means you did a straight line between the observer and the mountain to get that angle. Is that correct? Yes or no?
No.
So you took an arc calculation.
Do you know what an arc calculation is?
Did you take a straight line or an arc to measure? Because you can't take an angle from an arc, can you now?
You can't take an angle from an arc?
Yes, you can't get an angle from an arc.
No, I did not use an arc because I was able to use the two mountains.
So you took a straight line and an angle to the mountain. So in essence, you've just proved the Earth is flat.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have. You've taken a straight line measurement to something that in your model must be looming. And you've taken a straight line measurement and the angle. You have in essence proved the Earth is flat, Rumpus.
Not at all. I've proved quite the opposite.
Why haven't you taken an arc measurement?
I'll explain to you what I did.
Why haven't you taken an arc measurement to this mountain which is looming?
I'll explain what I did. I'll give you a complete explanation. If you share my screen, I can show you exactly what I did.
I heard what you said you did. You said you took an angle. That's the words you used. You said you measured the angle to the mountain. In essence, proving that the Earth is in fact flat. Because that mountain is looming in your model and requires an arc calculation to be taken.
I'm not using vertical, and Nathan, I'm using the vertical, so I'm not doing that. But because you won't let me, you won't present me what I'm show you the diagram now, exactly what I did. I can show you exactly how I came up with the resolution per degree in the diagram. If you prepare to present me, if you can allow me to present that argument.
I want you to answer my question. You said you took a measurement to the mountain. Are you now going to tell me that you're going to take the measurement to the base of the mountain that we can't see, or the top of the mountain?
If you let me, if you present me,
just answer my question. Everything. What was it you took an angle from?
And I could show you now if you
tell me.
I can show you.
Tell me.
I can show you. No, I can show you.
Tell me. Was it the top of the mountain?
I told you before you didn't understand, so I'm going to have to show you. I told you before.
What did you take? You said you took an angle to the mountain. I want to know what part of the mountain.
I'm showing you, and I can show you. I can show you now in a diagram.
Tell me what part, top or bottom?
You'll get confused again.
No. Did you take it to the top of a mountain or the bottom? It's a simple question.
No, I can show you. I've got the diagram here. I've actually got an arrow between the two things I measured. Actually, on screen now. I've got an arrow between the two things I measured. Showing as we speak.
This thing. So where it says... Sorry, I just moved my mouse out of the way. The name of the mountain. And then you've got a white arrow pointing to it.
Can you see this? Can you see this blue arrow here going from here to here?
Is this arrow the arrow that you took it from? I don't know if you can see your watch page. Distant. Sorry, we've got mole Y and then it says distant relevant. Is that where you took a straight line measurement to and got the angle?
No, can you see this arrow here? Can you see this arrow here to here to here?
Point your mouse at it.
I am. Can you not see my mouse? Okay,
No.
it's not. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, I'll draw a blob on it then if it's a bit too small. So here we have. I'll draw that in yellow. You should be able to see an arrow here, and the other end of the arrow is here. And the angular distance between those two is 1.63 degrees. That's the top of Moley Park and the top of Penny Claudio. And the angular separation between those two is 1.63 degrees. So I'm not measuring down, I'm measuring horizontally, which means I should not be affected by refraction, which is basically what you are implying is the problem. I'm not suffering that problem because I'm measuring horizontally. So from that, I know that these two mountain tops are 1.63 degrees. I therefore know how many pixels that represents. And therefore, I know how vertically the resolution is photographed, which is what I need to do with Anthony's photograph. I then know where I know from maths that the dip angle should be for Ranty standing at 5.5 meters, where it was on the Blackpool thing. I can then knowing that calculation I've just done with the pixels, I can then say, how many vertical pixels represents 0.072 degrees, which is the dip angle.
Right.
So therefore, I can predict, Anthony, where your dotted line would be if I have that information.
Sorry, I'm now sorry, Anthony. I just want to get this question in, Anthony. So the dip angle you can calculate an angle for. So that's a bit confusing. Why isn't it done with an arc calculation also?
When you say an arc calculation, you just mean the fact the line is
this stuff is on a curve, is it not?
Sorry?
Is this stuff situated on a curve? Yes or no?
Yes, this is obviously
so why are we not taking an arc calculation for the dip quote angle?
Because we don't need to. Because we've got a flat photograph, and I know the resolution of this photograph against the angle, I can then use that information from the horizontal effect. I now know the resolution of the picture, and because I know the distance to this mountain, etc., I can know the angle. I can work out in other words, how many degrees every pixel represents, and therefore I can say where I think if you were using a theodolite, I can predict where that crosshair would be. I can say to Anthony, I think if you were at Ranty's position, looking through a theodolite, I predict that's where the crosshairs will be.
And is the dip angle a horizontal or vertical measurement?
It's a vertical measurement. This measurement here.
So I will ask again. On this vertical measurement, why is it not using an arc calculation when it is measuring something that is on a curve?
Because we're looking at a flat picture which has a relationship between the pixels and the degrees.
Yes, but what I'm saying is from the observation position between us and the thing you are measuring, in this case a dip angle between the actual level from a theodolite that you have inserted without having a theodolite and the actual horizon, you are measuring a vertical. Why is that not being calculated using an arc calculation when it is, matter of fact, according to your model, on a curve?
Because we're looking at a flat photograph, and the fact that I could be looking at something that's rectangular shaped. It wouldn't make any difference to this angle that I've put in here. We could have a flat Earth, a curvy Earth, a concave Earth. It wouldn't make any difference to this value of the dip angle that I've put in.
But I'm saying by taking a straight measurement with an angle, you are proving that between us and that location, there is a straight line. Therefore, no curve if you are measuring anything on the vertical.
No, you're confused.
No, I'm not confused. Why are you saying that I'm confused? We are measuring between us and something that is in the distance on a curve. Why is it possible to take a straight line to any of it on the vertical?
Because this is a flat photograph on which I've worked out the degrees against the number.
A flat photograph of something that is actually on a curve according to your model.
Doesn't make any difference. This.
Why would you say that when you're taking a picture of something that is curving away from you, that it doesn't make any difference? This is absolutely the nature of this debate, Rumpus.
You don't understand what.
Why are you just continually saying that I don't understand? Because I understand implicitly. Between us and whatever you measure in the distance, there is, in your model, a curve. I am asking a very specific question. Why is it in any way possible to measure anything on the vertical between us and the thing in the distance if there is a curve? It should be an arc calculation in your model.
No, because it doesn't matter what shape the thing I'm looking at is. I've got a flat photograph and I've worked out the relationship between degrees and pixels.
I'm not talking about the photograph. The photograph is of reality, Rumpus. The photograph is of reality, and in your reality, there is a curve between us and the target. In this case, the horizon. Why do you keep saying it doesn't make any difference? This is, in essence, it's the title of the show. This is a flat Earth debate. And I'm asserting that if you can take a straight line from the observer to anything that you measure in the distance on the vertical, you are ignoring the curve that should be there between you and the thing in the distance. It should not be possible to take a straight line and just measure a simple angle. That is what we do in the flat Earth model. That is absolutely unequivocally not what you do in the globe model.
It doesn't change geometry. As I say, this could be on a wiggly concave.
You're not taking into account the geometry. You are taking a straight line.
What? You don't... You're just utterly confused.
No. I'll say it again. Between us and the thing in the distance, on a globe model, there is a curve between us and it. Therefore, when measuring anything between here and in the distance, you would need to measure and incorporate that curve into your calculations. And yet, you seem to be able to take a simple straight line, something that is only possible if we are on a flat plane.
No. I mean, if this diagram, this one here...
You seem to be ignoring my point again and going up into space with the camera pointing down. Let's just take your picture off screen again, because clearly Rumpus seems to be incapable of sticking with one point. Either we have a level transit, which is leveled, or we are up in space with our camera pointing down towards the horizon. We are not doing both. That's not what we are doing.
Do you understand trigonometry? I'd like to know how much maths you understand.
Now you start asking me about whether or not I understand maths.
Well,
I have just pointed out, and we are now ignoring my point, that Rumpus has taken a straight line measurement to something in the distance and entirely ignored the fact that there should be a curve to account for between us and it. He has ignored that and taken a straight line, proving the Earth is flat.
Nathan, can I respectfully request that we get to the closure of my point, please?
Sure.
I don't want him to swerve this because I want the
happy to engage. What?
Right.
Happy to... Where's my diagram?
You see my Nathan, would you mind presenting mine and keep Rumpus on point here? I want a closure on it because it doesn't need to go on forever.
Okay.
Right, but Andy, do you understand that you will end up with a crosshairs that will be separate from the horizon? That's what will happen. That will be the experience you will have. Will be a crosshairs, and it will be above the horizon you've got. And then you don't need to do all the calculation with the theodolite that I've been doing, because I'm trying to deduce where the theodolite...
Just listen to me.
Just for the audience's benefit, Rumpus hasn't done any calculations on a theodolite. Nobody has presented with any theodolite data.
I can't... And you won't need to do any of the calculations.
Just listen to me for 1 minute, please.
Just 10 seconds, Anthony.
You asked for that like half an hour ago.
Okay, well, then we'll last go, and I'll give you 1 minute. Anthony, if you go to a theodolite, you will end up with that dotted line. I've had to work out where that dotted line would be. You won't have to do that. It will appear for you in the theodolite above the horizon.
On screen, I have a theodolite. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What I've done is I've put all the horizons roughly together. If you were looking down the reticle or the optics or the sight, or whatever you want to call it, of the theodolite, you are going to be presented with a picture in real world with an overlay. Agreed?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So what we would then do is see the measured horizon, correct?
You would measure the horizon against the 0 degrees, against the
So
reticule.
what I'm going to do, Rumpus, for the sake of discussion, just to avoid any disagreements, the line I've just put in goes through what we can call the leveled horizon.
Yes, the leveled, that would be fun. The eye level of the observer.
Now we've got somewhere. Now what
I've been talking about, Anthony.
No,
I've been talking about
Rumpus, wait. I want you to tell me, where would you measure the horizon to? What point is the measurement? I'm going to suggest, and you can tell me, would you agree or not? On either picture, it's around about there. Would you agree or disagree?
Yes, if the crosshead appeared where you've put the first line, you would then use the internal scale of the theodolite, like you've got on the right-hand side, and you would say, oh, look, that's so many degrees below the level. But I've been saying this all the time. You kept on talking about deducing the horizon. It's not a horizon, Anthony. It's the 0 degree level, whatever you want to call it. It's
we are
not
deducing
the horizon,
at this point, are we not?
Sorry?
We are deducing the horizon at this point, are we not?
Well, you won't deduce it. You'll find it. I mean, it'll be there for you. Will be looking through it. You'll see the crosshairs of the black line, and then the difference, the angle, will say, oh, the actual horizon will appear below it somewhere.
Correct.
You can measure it.
Yes, but we are deducing the horizon based on the optics, correct?
Hold on. When you say we're deducing, you mean at the moment?
Yeah, right now. We've got the horizon set at 0, and we are observing that the apparent horizon appears to be below it by some degree.
That's correct. That's right. You'll be looking through.
Excellent. Now we've got to a point where we can agree.
Yeah,
so
but
what
I've been saying this all along, Anthony. You kept on talking about deducing the horizon.
That's what we're doing. We're deducing where the horizon point is.
No, deducing is logical deduction. You would experimentally observe where the horizon is relative to the theodolite's crosshair.
So what we can then say is this: the value for the horizon, which would be it's one of the it's that one, isn't it? That would give you a reading based on where you believe that the horizon is. Correct.
By your vision, yeah, you don't believe it, you can see it. Yes, you would
correct.
Measure, you would use the scale inside the theodolite,
right,
and you would then see where that value would be.
Correct. Yes, now, what I want to show you, Rumpus, is what happens when we look at the bigger picture. Ooh, let's make that bigger. Now,
but the key point you have to understand is that the theodolite will insert.
Hold on, Rumpus. Can you just let him make his point?
Okay, you will insert crosshairs for you.
Where's the horizon when we see this kind of thing?
Well, the horizon is obviously on that the sandy beachy thing down where the
down here. What's the white bit of this floor? Is this guy like 15 feet tall? What about the dog?
Yeah, I must admit that when you've got mirages involved, obviously then you can't see. You've got a problem with working out where the horizon is.
So we always have mirage involved. It's all looming. It's all beyond the horizon.
This is not looming. This is a mirage.
Well, the problem is, Rumpus, the point is, if we put the deduced horizon measurement in, where we agreed, that appears lower than where they actually are stood.
Right, but Anthony, you're doing.
So are we measuring dip, Rumpus, or are we measuring something else?
Right, Anthony, you're looking at a photograph which has got mirages on it, which makes it very difficult to work out where the real physical horizon is.
Correct.
Right,
but the problem is, if we're on the beach, we don't realise there's a mirage there, Rumpus. Anthony, you're going to tell us that this is the hard horizon, and therefore there is a dip.
Anthony,
and you'll claim it's a ball.
Now, hold on, Anthony. This is why you go and do it over water, where you don't get these sort of mirage effects. Obviously, if the atmospheric conditions are interfering with your ability to see the horizon.
Did you hear what he just said, Rumpus? Did you hear what he just said?
No, I didn't. Carol,
it's not over water.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you obviously don't want to. This picture here is of a photograph of a warm day where the sun is warming the air and you're getting inversion layers. So it's going to be very problematic. Hold on, let's take 5 seconds. Therefore, it's going to be very problematic to work out where what you can see as being the horizon. So the point is, you don't make a measurement on this day. You go and do it over water like you're there, where you won't get this sort of effect.
But we just agreed that the horizon was basically where the yellow line is. But we've just realised that there's actually a mirage there, and it artificially makes the horizon appear lower than what it actually is in real world, because the people are not stood on floating air, are they?
Agreed. The horizon there is problematic.
So how can this be a reliable way of measuring the dip of the horizon then, if we have these?
Because these are unusual circumstances, atmospheric circumstances you're looking at the moment.
Pardon?
You'd pick on a day where there was no bright sunshine, preferably where there was some wind, because wind mixes up the thing and removes all the refraction effects. And you do what you did in the St. Bees. Go and look at across water. You don't get these sorts of effects because you don't have some warmed sand, which is much, much warmer than the air around it. So don't pick on a silly situation where you're going to get silly inverting mirages.
All right, so we can do it on this picture then. Where would you put the horizon?
Well, it's a very blurry thing. I mean, I would say this is a bad picture to use.
Don't need to ask him that. We've already established it. You've got a line drawn.
So I'm going to assert, Rumpus, that the horizon is
about. I mean, it's obviously about there. Yeah.
Right. So how would you know whether there's a mirage there or not?
Well, you would see. Well, you could obviously deduce from looking at the images whether you could see any horizon inversion effects.
Sorry. Can you just go back to your first picture with the guy that's not above water, Anthony, just for a few moments?
The guy that's not above water, yes.
No, it's in the picture. There we go. See this dog on the right, Rumpus? Yeah. Is that dog flying? Has that got a word?
Or is it loomed back from behind the curtain?
Oh, well, obviously, I mean, I'm not even.
Hold on, Rumpus. I have a very straightforward question. See this dog? What word describes the effect of what that dog is doing? Is it flying? Is it a flying dog? Is that the word you'd use?
Has it loomed back from behind the curve?
Yes, I'd regard that as a flying dog. Yes.
Sorry. So is this dog looming?
Under standard atmospheric conditions, everything looms slightly.
So is this dog looming? Answered by Rumpus. Yes. Under standard conditions, everything is looming. And earlier he told me it doesn't matter. We don't have to account for this. So, Rumpus, this dog is looming. It is the same effect, the exact effect that is applicable to everything beyond the horizon. It's all looming.
Under standard conditions, yes.
Right. So the entire island's a mirage. It's all looming, and you're deducing horizons without theodolites. How disingenuous do you feel, Rumpus?
Not a mirage.
And the other question, it's not a mirage.
Sorry, let's just go back to this dog. So is this dog not a mirage effect? It's not a mirage.
That is a mirage.
It is a mirage, and the type of mirage would be described by you earlier as looming. The exact same description as attributed to the Isle of Man. Therefore, the Isle of Man is a mirage. It is the same word attributed to the same effect. So, fact, the entire Isle of Man is a mirage in your model.
It's loomed up very...
Yeah, looming, same as this dog is looming, a mirage effect. So, the effect of this dog not flying but looming is because it is a mirage. The same exact effect described by you on the entire Isle of Man. It's all looming. It's all a mirage effect.
No, you don't understand the difference between mirage and looming. Mirage, by definition, is an inversion.
Rumpus, can I ask you? I'm going to cite somebody's words that you hold dear as a reputable source.
Right.
The guy in question is Sly Sparkane, and he describes this as an inverted mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction. I agree with that.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes.
Right. So in that case, how can this be a reliable test for measuring the tilt of the horizon?
The dip angle. Dip angle.
Yeah. Right. How can this be a reliable test to measure the dip angle?
For this image, it wouldn't be.
Right. So what about the one on the left? How would we know?
Well, there it's a bit clearer. You're going across water. I mean, obviously, you'd like to have more features to see whether there were many mirage effects. I suspect not. I mean,
okay.
So you can't do it for either of these pictures.
Yes, you can. Sorry, what was the question?
Wow, what a total fail.
No, I think the picture on the left would be fine. Yeah, you can see the horizons.
You think it would be fine. So even though Anthony has absolutely unequivocally destroyed your hypothesis in terms of how to deduce a dip angle, you now think it would be fine. I couldn't care less. I said it earlier. What your musings are, Rumpus, don't concern me. I couldn't care less what you think.
Yes, I think this one we could.
I don't care what you think, Rumpus. Your deductions are worthless. Your deductions are utterly and totally worthless to me, Rumpus.
You're just confused, Nathan.
No, I'm not confused.
So Anthony,
you've managed to prove the Earth is flat on this show, Rumpus. Well done.
There's very little miraging going on.
Well done for proving the Earth is flat, Rumpus. Thank you.
No, all pictures Ranty and Anty have taken have all proved the Earth is a sphere. All of them.
No, you have not in any way shown any evidence of any curvature.
Rumpus. Either it's all looming or it's all flat. You have to choose.
Exactly. Exactly. Well said, Arwen. Exactly. Well said.
What? What's strange?
What's reality? I don't get it anymore.
You don't. This is the ultimate airhead speaking here. It doesn't even.
No, it's actually the truth. Either it's all looming or it's flat. You have to choose. But
so we've got about an hour left on this live stream. Hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. If you'd like to join the panel, simply click the link in the info box below this video to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. As I say, there is approximately 1 hour left on this live broadcast. Please share the show if you've not done so already.
Machel Lighthouse, yes? There is a turret thing at the bottom of the image.
Oh, yeah.
Where is it on that?
I believe it to be the most bottom thing on that image.
There isn't a most bottom thing on the image. The only thing that's on the image appears to be the lighthouse itself.
Yeah.
Where's the turret?
Well, you got that from the wrong angle. You're looking here. The picture you're showing.
Agreed. It's a slightly different angle, but
it's a very different angle. It's 90 degrees.
Hang
on.
On. Miles the Liar Davis went back from a very similar angle and
don't
do
that.
All right, let me go to Miles's then. Let me get it from Miles's. Bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, I know what you're going to show, I think. Yeah.
Right. He got the turret, correct?
Yes, but he was at a much higher position.
Right. So my point is, if you accept that there was a turret that Miles took from a similar area, the only difference was the elevation, does it not logically and reasonably conclude that this must be a mirage of some kind? Because where's the turret? We can see below the lighthouse.
The miraging effects on that image, I did have a look at some of them. I don't think there are many miraging effects. I mean,
there's a mirage that runs through the full length, entire length of the horizon. The entire length of the horizon is inverted below itself.
Say again?
You have on the image the composite running the entire length of the image, all the way from formerly known to Douglas to the north end of the island. Across the entire image, there is a line of refraction. It only applies to the negligible amount of the image that is actually at the above the hard horizon. So there is a mirage running the entire length that is evident, that you can evidence. Unlike, hold on, I haven't quite finished, bear with me, haven't quite finished. So we can evidence this refraction. It is there and you can demonstrate it. Unlike the effects of looming, the entire island being a mirage, that you cannot demonstrate, you just assert it.
Sound is evidence.
It's only asserted based on a presupposition that we have a curve and that light must bend around that said curve under standard conditions in all circumstances. So the only reason the rest of the entire island being refracted is because of a presupposition that Earth curve exists and light bends around it, even though Rumpus has provided absolutely no scientific proof of that Earth curvature.
Rumpus.
He has provided a lot of technobabble.
Rumpus.
The scientists babble to you, I'm afraid.
No, technobabble. Nonsense.
Rumpus.
Machination.
Can you see my screen, Rumpus?
I can see it, yeah.
Right, this is a picture that Miles took from a significantly higher elevation,
yeah.
Pretty much the same angle of looking at it, but a different elevation. He can see the turret at the bottom. Where's the turret on ours? We see the bottom of what looks like the lighthouse, no turret. What's the logical and reasonable conclusion that you can make from that with regards to the band of refraction we see at the horizon?
Yeah, it is at a much higher elevation. I'm wondering if you're sort of looking down. Obviously, and it's not quite the same angle. It's more he moved further to the right, so therefore I believe.
But we can see that this part here and this part here appear in the same place.
Yeah, not quite. It's more. He's clearly more to the right than.
All right.
Than
so your position is that this is lined up perfectly in front of it. That's why we can't see it.
I believe that to be the. I'm not absolutely sure, but I believe that to be. I also think there's some. I think there is some. Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure about that one. I must admit.
So let's go back to the question in hand. Your statement was for 25 quid, you could hire a tripod, a theodolite for the day, go to the beach at St. Bees or the cliff, whichever, point it to the horizon and measure the angle, the horizon dip. My question is, how reliable is it when you can't tell me whether there's a refracted band there or not?
Well, Anthony, the horizon is much better defined than the things above it. The horizon is much more clearly defined.
But I've just demonstrated to you where there was a clearly defined horizon. It didn't do what we thought it was going to do.
Thing with mirages, so you don't pick a day like that. You don't pick a circumstance.
How would you know?
There will always be that refractive band. That will always be
only
there.
A couple of pixels.
Right. But how would you know?
So what you're saying is it is always there. you're saying it's just a couple of pixels, so how can we possibly get an accurate idea? That's Anthony's question.
Well, you can get it within a couple of pixels. If you
Right, but that's going to drastically change the angle.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Look,
Over
on
30 miles,
No,
a couple of
look.
pixels would change the angle, the straight line that we would take, the measurement on a flat plane. It would change that angle that Rumpus uses when measuring things vertically. Again, on a flat plane. Nice proof of a flat Earth there. Thank you for that, Rumpus. Thank you for proving that the Earth is flat.
I proved it's a sphere.
How reliable is the measurement that you claimed for 25 quid would give us the radius of the Earth when we cannot tell where the actual horizon is?
Well, you can within a pixel or two.
No, how many pixels would you say there is between the dog and the hard horizon?
Yes, Anthony, by quoting some strange mirage picture, actually, it doesn't change the general principle.
Pay up,
It's a big
Rumpus.
better picture.
Well, how would you know whether it was a strange mirage or not when you're looking over water?
Because you can see where the horizon. Don't forget, the horizon is much closer to you than the things beyond the horizon. So something like the Morgold Lighthouse.
Evidence of a horizon
So
from
much
me
better.
is the dogs and the turbines. But if you were looking out over the sea, you wouldn't know what the actual horizon is, Rumpus.
You are.
You can't tell
You can-
what's actual and what's apparent.
You're telling me. So, for instance, in that picture of the you're showing me of the Morgold Lighthouse, you're claiming you can't tell where the horizon is. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
Well, are you an idiot then? Because it's quite obvious where it is.
Sorry, did you ignore the part where we pointed out that there is a mirage? Did you ignore that completely? He's not an idiot. He's saying that there are things that you are not accounting for when you are telling us that we can ignore the couple of pixels that apparently are really important when you're getting a left to right angle to measure things. Yet those couple of pixels seem to be ignored when you tell us for 25 quid we can go to the beach, which has now been conflated into no, actually you don't need to go to the beach. Sly Sparkane is a complete idiot when he tells us to take these measurements from the beach, which is what I've asserted for a very long period of time. Be sure to pass that information on to Sly or Slow Sparkane, who doesn't understand that it's all looming and doesn't understand that it's important to get a bit higher to get around the problem that Anthony is pointing out to you, Rumpus, that there is an inversion layer at the horizon, which would negate any reasonable conclusions being drawn when measuring a dip angle. Coincidentally, the dip angle that proves that you are measuring it on a flat plane.
The horizon is much closer than the lighthouse, and therefore it's much easier to determine where it is.
Says you. It's only closer because you presuppose that we see a curve. That's the only reason you are asserting that the horizon is actually closer. See, we don't assert that nonsense because we have not got this presupposition like you that there's a curve.
See it, can't you, Anthony?
You don't have a curve, Rumpus. There's no curvature there, Rumpus.
On that Morgold Lighthouse picture, you could tell me where the
that's
horizon is within a
refraction
pixel.
zone. It's in
No,
the,
Rumpus, I
it's in
couldn't.
the
You know
zone
why?
due to
Oh,
refraction.
come on, Anthony.
Continues on in the
Rumpus,
straight
stop
line
being
from there
silly.
on.
Stop
Rumpus,
being
look at the
Not
screen.
curvature.
Look
No
at my screen,
cumulative
Rumpus.
drop.
What's going on here with the horizon? You remember this? This is what the
That's
Balakanel,
Balakanal, yeah.
Douglas argument was over. We're
Yeah.
seeing some level of inversion and mirage thing here. But when we look slightly to the right of it, we don't see that. So how do you know where the horizon actually is?
Because, Anthony, you've got confused between two separate things. There's the horizon, and then there are things beyond the horizon which do suffer some mirage effects. The horizon does not.
Right. So what I'm saying is, imagine that this dot here is the dog. There's the dog.
Yes.
There's the horizon.
But this is much clearer, Anthony.
Right. But this dog's clearly on the beach. It's not in the
but,
water.
Anthony,
Much
by
clearer. It's perfectly
might-
much clearer. That's
Anthony-
why you can actually see that it's flat.
Anthony,
Because
you might
there's
as well
no
be quoting me
obstruction
some
now. You
pictures
can
that have a
see
ship
that it's
in the
just a
air.
flat, straight
You-
horizon.
You pick the circumstances that
Yeah,
are
the
favourable.
circumstances when you can actually see because
And
it's
here
clear.
on
That's
the
when you
one
get to
layer,
see that there is no curve.
much
Rumpus.
less turbulent.
There's
than
no
the
curve,
rest of the
Rumpus.
layers, and therefore
no
you can
curve,
see where the
Rumpus.
horizon is. If your
It's
claim,
flat.
if your whole base,
It's
if your
flat.
counterpoint is that you can't work out where the horizon is, then I'm afraid you're being very silly.
No, Rumpus, this is my point. Where is the actual horizon based on the day that you're looking down the reticle, you're looking at the horizon, where do you measure your horizon
You
to?
can see, Anthony, that black area is very definitely the horizon.
Right. So
Come
in
on,
this
Anthony, you
instance
not
then-
can't argue this point, surely.
So I've lined the black horizon up with the what looks like the horizon on the sand, and you carry it across, but then you realise unless that dog's flying, that can't be the real
Anthony, you
horizon.
might as well be showing me a picture of an inverted ship in the air and saying, "Oh, look, there's a problem." It's no point in
I
comparing.
can show
on
you
silly-
a picture of an island where the entire island's looming.
Anthony, you can see where the horizon is on those.
I love how
pictures of
Rumpus
the
just
island
ignores
map.
that completely.
You can't ignore this. And
Right,
once you've got
Rumpus.
that, you know. Once you know where the horizon is, you can then with
But
the
that's my point,
crosshairs-
Rumpus.
Yeah, we don't
If
know
you're
where the
saying
horizon
that
is.
We can see the horizon on the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
Then I would assert that we can also see the horizon on the beach. But
yes,
it's
and Anthony, I can't believe you're this dense. I've explained.
No,
to
no,
you
no, no,
now
no.
What's
You
with the
got-
ad hominem?
Why that-
No,
that
he's
proves
pointed
the-
something out to you nice and concisely and clearly, Rumpus, and now you're just going in for the ad hominem attack. Why
No, well, no,
why
I
do
can't-
this?
Well, I'm wondering if he really believes what he's saying because I've explained to him why you.
He's
can put some
demonstrated it with
images
evidence.
and not others.
He's demonstrated
And
it to you.
Anthony knows that this one is subject to mirage because of the heat that they've got inversion layers. He can see that. He knows.
That's his
what
point.
mirage-
That's his point. If you're trying to say that you can calculate a dip using straight lines proving the flat earth, just to get that in, if you're implying that and he's pointing out that there's an inversion layer, then you can't deduce it with a theodolite at the beach for
Don't
25
deduce
quid.
it, no.
That's his point.
No, you measure. You don't deduce. Deduction is a mathematical, logical
Right,
process.
but when we've got
Whatever.
inversion layers that are just a couple of pixels that you can just ignore according to you, you are
Yeah,
deducing
because-
things, aren't you,
because
Rumpus?
as I showed you on my diagram of Rantis thing,
It's
the
called
difference-
convenient
the
ignorance.
scale-
Yeah,
Yes,
convenient
that's exactly
ignorance
what it
by
is.
Rumpus.
Convenient
Hold
ignorance.
on, hold on.
Ignorance.
The reason
And let me ask you this, Rumpus. If you're prepared to turn a blind eye to a
hold on,
couple
Anthony,
of
you can
pixels,
ignore those
how
pixels
reliable
because
is
the
your
scale of
claim
the dip,
that a
the dip
theodolite
angle-
pointed
the
at the
dip- hold on,
horizon
Anthony,
can measure
the
the
dip
dip
angle
of the
is much,
horizon?
much bigger than
How reliable?
It's
Yeah,
very
Rumpus is
reliable.
just
The dip
verbal
angle-
diarrheaing all over your
not.
point, Anthony.
Anthony, the dip angle is much, much bigger, as I showed you with the Ranti photograph, than those few
Nathan, can I
pixels.
just say something to you,
So
Nathan?
the inaccuracy
Sure.
I
is
think,
very small.
I think the Rumpus knows this, and he's deliberately trying to mislead people.
I can't believe you're having a problem with this. You're on the Ranti photograph.
I
you
agree.
saw
I
the
think
difference.
Rumpus does know this. He's not stupid, and I think we've
Anthony,
made it
you
very
saw
clear.
the
You've made the point extremely concise. You've taken him through it so that the audience would understand. He understands it already. The audience
Anthony,
now
you
understands
saw
it, and
the
he's
scale
still
of the
being
dip angle against
totally
the pixels.
disingenuous
It's
and just
much,
talking
much bigger
over
than the
everybody
pixels.
now that this
So
point has got to
therefore,
its conclusion.
It's not a problem.
So now that the point has come to its conclusion, Rumpus is just going to talk over everybody. So you've taken him through the points, Anthony, I agree. You've taken him through it step by step. You've made it very clear to the point that the audience can understand.
Nathan, if you really think
Stop
that was
for a
reasonable
moment.
Nathan, would you agree with me that Sly Sparkane would have to agree with the Rumpus and say that a few pixels wouldn't make any difference?
I don't know what Sly Sparkane would agree to. He doesn't really understand his own model.
Sly, I'll put it out there that Sly would have to agree with Rumpus's claim that a few pixels wouldn't make any difference, and he would claim that basically they've got to go with the same official version, right? So if Rumpus says that it's only a couple of pixels out and that's okay, Sly's got to agree with it because otherwise it looks disharmonious.
You can disagree with me if you like.
Well, I'd like to know what is the
But
position.
I'm just amazed.
I
you
agree
think
with
you
Sly.
can't work out where the horizon is.
I
on the
agree with
one-goal
Sly.
picture.
We do see an inverted mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction that you identify as curvature, but we all know is actually some optical
right now.
effect.
So let me. So you think
It's
those wind
refraction.
turbines- So
Refraction.
hold on, Anthony.
The
You think
slant
those
zone.
wind turbines can fit into those few pixels. You think the compression, for a start, we can demonstrate from knowledge of the height of Snaefell, for instance, that we're missing half of the goddamn mountain. So you're telling me you
you're
think
telling
half
me
the
that-
mountain
Yeah,
is
That's called
two
obstruction.
pixels.
That's not because they
You
fall
think
behind the
half the
cumulative
mountain
dropping
is
curve,
two
Rumpus.
pixels, do you, Anthony? Is that what you think?
It's still there. It's just
Anthony, do you
obstructed
think
and
that
not
half
by
the
the
mountain
curvature.
is
It
packed with
doesn't
2
fall
pixels?
down the curvature,
Anthony,
Rumpus. It's
Anthony, is
not
that what you think?
curvature, Rumpus.
Anthony, do you think that half the mountain is packed into those 2 pixels in what you're calling the dirty air refraction
No,
layer?
it's
But you call it a
obstructed.
few
I'm
pixels.
speaking to
Obstructed from view. It's
Rumpus,
not
your point is-
dropping
I'd
behind
like
the
Anthony to
curve.
speak, please. Anthony, do you think half of Snaefell is hiding in those 2 pixels?
2 pixels I disagree with. Let's go to the other side of the mountain, the other side of the
Because half
picture.
the mountain is missing. We can show that it's not a flat.
Do you remember when we were arguing
Because
over
we know
Half the mountain
Ramsey
isn't
couldn't
missing of
speak to
Snaefell.
Eiffel
That's
Tower?
total nonsense.
Do you remember when we were discussing where Ramsey was? The whole
Yep.
town of Ramsey was missing, and we
Yep.
said we see a little bit of refraction on the end here.
And do you know where the zero
How many
height-
pixels would you count that as roughly, Rumpus? 2.
I've worked it out. It's 10 meters is the area of what you would call the dirty air.
He just asked
Yeah,
you how many pixels would you say are between his mouse and the horizon?
Well, I can't see the resolution of his thing, but I measured it myself on the composite, and it's 10
Sorry,
meters.
it's
It
on
only accounts for
screen
10 meters.
right now, Rumpus.
I
It's a
can't
simple
see a
question.
pixel, so
Don't
how can I do
obfuscate
that?
this.
But
I want
I
an
measured
answer.
it myself.
I want an answer from you, and it's the same question that was just asked from Anthony a moment ago. How many pixels are in that refraction zone? Please, Rumpus, can you answer that single question?
Pixels. You think that Snaefell, half of Snaefell. is
Shut up
hiding
about
in 2
Snaefell.
pixels.
He's asked you a direct question about this particular zone that clearly is inverted. So, how many pixels do you say that is?
What, the inversion layer?
Yeah, you said it was a couple of pixels. I challenge a couple, and I say it's more than a couple.
On the end there, it's a little bit more. But
30
No,
pixels.
not on the end there. I'll just say it again for you and the benefit of the audience. This layer runs the entire length of the picture on the horizon. Slightly above the horizon, there is this line that runs the entire length of the picture. It is not just in this single area, it runs the full length. I made this clear earlier when I said from the north end of the island all the way through Douglas, formerly known as Douglas, Balacanal, all the way through this, there is this line.
Misidentified, yeah. No,
the point he's making is that couple of pixels is evident all across the composite.
Could you zoom in on that one
Yeah,
part?
coincidentally, Rumpus, the vertical dip angle that you were talking about, it's the same thing we're on topic with. This is what you say we can go and measure as a vertical dip angle, right? Now we're saying, how many pixels do you say is negligible, and pointing out that it's not a couple of pixels.
Right, but that you're getting confused between the pixels between what that nose, whatever you refer to it, and the horizon. We can see where the horizon is very clearly. So
No, that's the point.
Yeah, that's our point, Rumpus. Thank you for making our point for us. Thank you, Rumpus.
You don't need to worry about the things beyond it. You need to know where the horizon, what is the height position of the horizon relative to the crosshairs. So actually, what's going on in the background with this thing is irrelevant.
Techno-babble obfuscation.
Yeah, total obfuscation of the point. So he said that it was a couple of pixels. It's not.
Rumpus, you can tell clearly where the horizon is, correct?
Right, but Anthony, do you understand? It wouldn't matter if that image was there or not. You could take away that image of the Isle of Man, and you could still do the measurement with your theodolite because the crosshairs would appear above that black horizon.
Yeah, take away the proof that the Earth is flat, so you can actually get your globe proof back. That's great, Rumpus. That's
and
great.
when you don't understand a word, you're
No, of
He
course I
doesn't
don't
understand.
understand. a
Why
word.
do you keep saying this? When everyone
not
gets
smart.
a point in against
This is
Rumpus
what we've
that's
got on screen
absolute
right
killer,
now, Rumpus.
he
We've
tells
got
them
the
they don't
crosshairs
understand.
appearing on the level horizon. My question to you is,
Don't
where
call
do
it
you
a horizon,
deduce
please.
or
And
measure?
Don't call it a level horizon. It's just the level.
No, it is.
But where do you take your horizon for your dip measurement from? Do you go from the obvious one that you claim, or do you accept that there is something stopping it from appearing the way that it appears, and it's a perception? Because
Anthony,
we know we have a dog.
Anthony, you keep on referring to this dog picture when you know fully well we've got a mirage situation here with unusual atmospheric conditions.
No,
There's no
these
point
occur
in comparing
all the
with
time.
the
Flat plane.
Based on the altitude. That's why when you said it's better to get higher, you avoid that layer, you conceded this point.
you
You're
can't
not dumb,
completely
Rumpus. Don't play dumb with us. You conceded this point when you said that you need to get higher to avoid this layer. You understand this layers here. You conceded it.
Oh, yes, but you can minimize. There are certain differences.
Yes, but whenever Rumpus says the words yes, but, that is his brief moment of concession where he accepts that he has conceded this point. He has already conceded it earlier on the debate. He has already made a concession that you must go higher in order to combat this problem.
Right, Al K has taken.
Right, that's correct, Rumpus. You have already conceded it. I'll make it again. So, there is a layer of inversion that causes you a problem. Were you to spend £25, hire a theodolite and go to what you told us initially, the beach, right? You have to get around that by increasing altitude, which is what we describe as flat earthers as the obstruction formerly known as curvature. That is what you are negating by going up higher. This inversion layer that you are trying to measure as a dip angle.
You can ignore it on the Isle of Man image. You can effectively ignore it, and particularly if you're
right. So we go with our theodolite. We go and take our picture, and the answer we get from Rumpus when we come back, having done what he has tasked us with, because he hasn't got any scientific proof of his curvature, he would say that we can ignore it. That it's the wrong day, that the conditions were exceptional, that there was too much miraging on that day. In other words, when challenged for scientific proof of Earth curvature, Rumpus challenges you to go and do something so that he will absolutely and unequivocally disavow everything that is in the picture or in the theodolite based on his assumptions, his reasoning, nothing scientific, nothing proven, no curvature, nothing. So you're going to the beach with a £25 theodolite, Rumpus. We will ignore that assertion completely.
The lighthouse is missing. You've got twice.
Yeah, now you're just going on about babbling.
Where's the base of the lighthouse? It's twice as
Now he's back to the base of the lighthouse. Yeah, we've just explained this. There's a layer of inversion, We've just explained that to
think
you.
It's all packed into 2 pixels. You think they're twice the
Not
height
2
of the
pixels.
lighthouse
We've just
is
shown
packed
that
into
it's not 2
1
pixels.
pixel.
Please do not
it's-
double down on your
it's within-
position, Rumpus. That really annoys me. Don't double down and claim it's 2 pixels. We've just demonstrated to you that it's not 2 pixels. So please stop being so disingenuous.
You think that the base of the lighthouse and all the stuff that's below it is all packed into those couple of pixels above the horizon in that little what you're calling refraction?
No, that isn't what we're saying, Rumpus.
I'll
You
tell you
don't
where it is. It's
understand.
hiding beneath
Listen,
the curvature
stop
of the Earth.
speaking and listen. What we're saying is there is an inversion on the horizon that obscures what we see. So where is the actual horizon to measure the tilt or the drop angle?
You can see it, and the reason you were getting
No, we can't
confused
see it.
with the-
That's what we're pointing out to you.
No, you
That's
can,
why you've
because
made a
you-
concession that we would need to go higher in order to get around that problem. That's what you've just conceded. Why have I got to point out your concession to you twice?
Right, Anthony, do you understand?
No,
You're
no,
trying to
not
measure the
Anthony. My name's
horizon,
Nathan.
and the thing
I've just
behind-
pointed this out to you. Why are you now ignoring me?
Okay, what are you pointing out to me?
That you've conceded the point that there is an inversion layer that is better to get higher to get around that problem. You conceded it earlier on this
I
show.
said that. How is that concession if I've advocated that as well?
So why on earth would you say you need to go higher if there is not an obstruction we formerly called curvature?
That's because it doesn't account for curvature. Because for instance, Snaefell, as I say, you're missing half of Snaefell.
No, we're not.
So where's
Why are you
that-
asserting
you
something
think
that is completely
that
wrong?
half of Snaefell
We are
is
not
packed-
missing half of Snaefell. I am asking you a simple question. Why have you said that we would need to go higher in order
don't
to
need to,
avoid
it
this
helps.
layer of inversion?
You don't need to, but it helps to avoid these problems.
Right,
there's
so
my
there
point.
is a problem
Right.
then, Rumpus.
And-
That's
and-
the problem that Anthony's pointing out to you. There is a problem, and this is that problem. This is the point. That's the point we are making.
So Nathan, where do you think the lighthouse?
Oh,
base of
don't
the
ask
lighthouse-
me where
Wait a
I
second
think it
then.
is, you stupid
Where do
little
you
man.
think all the stuff
Oh,
from the base of
shut
the lighthouse
up, you
has gone, Anthony?
stupid
Like
little
Nathan or
man.
Anthony, either one of you.
It's in the refraction zone.
Yeah, it's
But
being.
it's twice the height of the lighthouse. So you think it's
No,
all
no,
packed
Rumpus,
into-
listen.
It's in the refraction zone. The refraction zone increases in size the more you go into the distance, but
So
it
you-
does so in a
Let me
linear
get this
way,
right.
not
So let
in
me
a
get this right.
cumulative way.
Your cumulative position is that lighthouse, which we can see, that the twice the size of the lighthouse is the base. You think that twice the size of the base of the lighthouse is packed into just a few pixels?
No,
what you're
not
calling
in.
the
No,
refraction
it's
layer.
not packed into a few pixels. It's entirely hidden in the refraction
hidden,
zone
yes,
because
behind
light
the
bends
horizon.
up,
Right,
and
so it's
that
hidden behind the horizon.
causes
You know what that is?
that
That's
entire
the-
part
Excellent.
not to be visible,
It's
Rumpus.
behind the
That's
horizon.
the
Yes, well
refraction
done,
zone.
Owen. You've
That's
got
how
there.
refraction
You've
works.
got
That's
there,
how
Owen. It's
optics
hidden
work.
behind the horizon, yes.
Yes.
Because you either have to claim that the base of the lighthouse is on the horizon, or you have to accept that it's hidden. And if you're going to claim it's on the horizon, it's
hidden in
packed
the
into
refraction
pixels.
zone. How many times do I have to tell
Right,
you
where's
this?
this refract-
You keep
okay,
on ignoring absolutely
okay, Hairhead,
everything
you tell me
with your
where-
techno babble,
Look, you tell
constantly
me
talking
in this
over us.
picture- Owen, you tell me in this picture that Anthony's got where the base of the lighthouse is on the water.
It's in the same position where the base of the where the horizon that the dog is physically stood in.
No, on this picture. Let's go with this picture.
No, I'm answering it by referencing the dog.
Yeah, no, you're referencing something that's got mirage on it. We can ignore that.
The
It's
base of the
irrelevant.
tower is between where the dog's feet are in the real world and where it perceives
Okay,
to be the
point to-
horizon.
hold on, Anthony. Point to it on the picture. Show me where the base.
I am doing.
No. On the Isle of Man picture, show me. Point your pointer where you think the base of the sea level of the mount of the Morgold lighthouse is. Point to it on the picture where you think.
Right,
it
can
is.
you see the lighthouse?
I can. Yes. Now point to
The
me where you
lighthouse
think
would
the
be
base
the
of the
dog.
lighthouse.
The lighthouse would be the dog. The
Right,
rest of the
right.
lighthouse
No,
is
just
below
point.
where the
No,
dog's
Anthony,
feet
just
are
point
and
where
it
on the
perceives to be the
picture
actual
where you
horizon.
think the base of the lighthouse is. Where
Did
it's
you listen
contacting
to what I
the
just
water.
said? Did you listen to what I just said? I answered your question.
What,
The
no, I
base-
want you to point there. Could you point?
Listen,
Is it there?
the base of the lighthouse is between where the dog meets the ground
No,
and
could
where
you
the
just-
apparent
actually, could you just
horizon
point
seems
on
to
the
be.
picture
Didn't listen,
where you
Rumpus.
think the base of the lighthouse is?
shut up
He can't help. He's got verbal diarrhea.
Anthony,
You didn't
on the,
listen,
stop trying
Rumpus.
to distract with the mirage. You could be
Rumpus,
pointing
you
at-
didn't listen.
But Anthony,
Rumpus,
we're only concerned.
you didn't
Keep on focused,
listen.
Anthony. We're looking at the picture of the Isle of Man. Show me on the Isle of Man where you think that the base of the lights, where it meets the sea level, is. Please.
Rumpus, let me speak without being interrupted.
Okay.
The lighthouse is apparent in the picture. The base of the lighthouse that we admit is missing is somewhere in the picture below the dog's feet and above the apparent horizon, which in this case is where the dog's feet are at the bottom and the apparent horizon is below.
Right, so
That's 30 miles away.
Okay.
The dog's about 6.
Okay, so you made my dog. Now, can you please, on this picture, for my information, because I don't understand where you think that the sea level for that lighthouse is. Can you please point to me on this picture?
That's the point.
Just point, Anthony, where
No,
you
that
think
is the
on
point
this
he's
picture
making,
you think the
Rumpus.
sea level is.
That's the point. You're telling us we can measure a dip angle, yet there's an inverted layer that is
Anthony,
clearly
stop. Okay, I'll deal with
not
that, but we
that is
try to
clearly
respect
not representing the true horizon, which is what you're measuring your dip angle to.
So, Anthony, can you... Whoops.
Why did you just ignore me, Rumpus? I've just pointed out that the thing you are trying to measure to, the line, the apparent horizon, means nothing if you are measuring a dip angle to something that in reality isn't the actual horizon.
So,
you
okay,
keep
so
saying the
point to the
horizon's
picture
obvious,
where
Anthony.
you
If you
think
can't
it
see the
is.
horizon, you're stupid.
the answer
Well,
is we
no,
don't know.
that's not the horizon,
don't
is
know.
it?
It is the horizon. Because
No,
the
it
horizon
isn't.
is much closer
No,
to
it's
you
the
than
apparent. It's the
So, Anthony,
apparent
you're saying
horizon.
You don't know whether you think the base of the
Apparent.
lighthouse is then, is that right?
Apparent horizon
No,
is
it's-
not
that's
the
not right.
horizon. Is it, Rumpus?
We've seen boats on it, Anthony and Nathan. We know that it's the real horizon. So,
Right.
Anthony, you're telling me you do not know where the base of the at sea level for that Moorgold Lighthouse is. You think it's
Correct.
Precisely.
Right. Amazing.
Well,
Absolutely amazing.
you could
But,
deduce it
but
if
here's the
you
thing, though.
think
You're telling me that you
under-
can.
under-
Yes.
That's
I
No,
can
you
tell
can't, though,
exactly-
because we
I
have
can
the
tell you
dog.
Exactly where the base of that lighthouse
No, you can't, Rumpus, because the
can.
dog shows us that there is an apparent horizon below it.
You might as well be showing me a picture of light going around a black hole, Anthony. That is different.
No problem,
you just
Rumpus.
deny
It's
it.
all right.
Yeah,
we can
it-
give you
it
an
is, like the
easier. No
dog
problem,
picture,
Rumpus.
that's
He's
not-
tried to
that's
give you an. Hold on,
non-standard
Arwen. Hold on,
refraction,
hold
and the
on.
other
He's
is
tried to.
standard
Hold on,
refraction.
Arwen.
Correct.
Oh,
No,
Arwen,
no,
hold on,
he's
hold on,
actually
hold
saying
on.
something intelligent.
He's tried to
I've
give
got
you an
to-
example
that's-
on the Isle of Man, Rumpus. He's tried to demonstrate it using something that is clearly inverted. So if Anthony can now go, as you've taken him to the lighthouse, something that's less apparent, let's take him to the end of the island where what we call the nose cone is and show you an obvious inversion where you can see it really clearly. So if Anthony, you can scroll your picture of the Isle of Man back to the nose cone and we'll show you an obvious depiction of where the apparent horizon is obviously different to the actual horizon. That's why Anthony was here before. You took him back to the lighthouse.
Okay, no,
now
I'm
it's
happy to- I'll
it's
give an answer.
obvious for you, Rumpus.
No,
I'll
you
give you an
can't
answer.
answer yet,
I'll
Rumpus.
answer this directly. I'll answer this directly if I get a moment. Right, great. The horizon, what you could remove that image of the Isle of Man, and the horizon would not change position. We're only interested in measuring where the horizon is. The fact that you've got something in the background which is being got a slight refraction inversion on it is irrelevant. If you had the crosshairs of
But
your
isn't
field
though, isn't
model
it?
looking at this,
No, sorry. That relies on a presuppositional argument. That relies on us presupposing that we live on a sphere and that that sphere has a bulge that obscures the view of things in the distance and sits between us and the things that we actually see. Contrary to what we argue as a flat plane, that is how we see things. Now, on two days ago, I challenged you to provide scientific proof of the Earth curve. Now you seem to be continually bringing it back up as a presuppositional argument. Do you understand what begging the question is?
you don't understand. Yeah, but you don't accept scientific journals, though, do you?
Sorry.
You're not prepared to accept
Scientific
evidence that I, as
proof
one person-
is not scientific journals. It is the
Hold on,
scientific
right.
method. That is
Right, hold
not
on. So, hold on, what are you
scientific
prepared-
journals
so
and
you're not-
peer
You're
review.
not prepared to accept such
I am prepared to
scientific
accept
journals.
something that we
You're
can
not prepared to accept what I've done
actually
personally. You're
validate,
not prepared to accept
something
what
we
George
can
Anthony
actually
said.
repeat.
You're
You
not
have
prepared to
not
accept what Anthony
provided
said
that.
evidence.
Nothing you
You're not prepared to
provided
accept
qualified
any
as having satisfied the scientific method. Nothing you provided qualified as scientific proof.
Right,
You have
so-
not
but you
scientifically
reject
proven
scientific
that there is a curve. You will not be allowed to presuppose that the actual horizon is not the horizon because we are on a sphere. That presupposition is not tolerated here. Do you understand
deny
that?
Science.
Right,
Yeah,
hang
fine,
on. He's just
good.
said that you're Nathan. He's just said that you're a science denier, and I'm
well,
going to counter
we may
that by saying
deny
you're an
science.
evidence denier.
You're denying evidence.
Yeah.
You're ignoring
absolutely not.
evidence.
Hold on. What evidence am I denying? Hold on.
Well,
What
that
evidence
the
am I
kind
denying?
of
dog.
curve that's supposed to be there is not there because we
Right.
have
And
Where's
visual
the actual
evidence
horizon, Rumpus?
that
Anthony,
it is still
Anthony,
there.
do
You shouldn't be
accept
able to
there
see
are
it.
different atmospheric
In that
conditions?
far distance,
Rumpus,
you should
answer
not
this
be able to see it
specifically.
unless you concede that it's all looming
Anthony,
into a flat plane into the distance.
Anthony,
Rumpus,
you
answer
You
this
accept
refuse
one
to
question.
concede to that.
Where is the actual horizon in this picture with
Right.
the dog?
And I'm
Is
telling
the
you,
actual horizon where the dog's feet are, or is it where it appears to
right,
be
but
underneath?
this, Anthony, is not applicable to the Isle of Man picture.
It's absolutely the same thing.
Absolutely not.
Rumpus, you're an
Completely
evidence
not.
denier.
It's
No,
just
I
a
accept this
denier.
evidence.
Just
You've
a
got picture
denier.
here, and I
Saying the Isle of Man
totally
isn't
accept the evidence
applicable,
of
yet
what's
he can
before
pick
me.
out evidence and claim that it proves curve, yet it's in this instance not applicable.
Right.
Not
Right,
applicable,
okay,
even
let's
though
go back to
2
the
days
notes then. Let's
ago
go back to
and
the notes then.
yesterday told us that we could go to St Bees with the theodolite that we rent for 25 quid and prove that there's earth curve. No scientific proof, just go out and prove it to yourself so I can pick it apart afterwards. So far, Rumpus has provided us nothing that we can pick apart, nothing that we can go away and validate. Basically
So,
nothing
Anthony,
that proves
if
the
you
Earth's a
go and
sphere.
take a
You've
theodolite
got
to this
absolutely
nose
nothing, Rumpus. You've got nothing.
Anthony, if you went to this nose cone with your theodolite, what would you be measuring between? Would
That's
the
my
feature
point.
in the background be in any part of your measurement? No, it wouldn't. The only two things you'd be measuring would be the crosshairs and the horizon that you can see. What
would that do to the
what
angle
the
tilt?
nose cone does is irrelevant.
So we're
What would it
measuring
do to the angle
inverted
tilt,
mirages. So that's what we're
What would
doing,
it
are
do?
we?
Sorry,
To
what's the question,
deduce a dip horizon, dip angle, we're going to measure an inverted mirage, are we?
No, because you can see that's not an inverted mirage.
Right.
You can
Yeah,
see
it is an
clearly that's
inverted
Let me
mirage.
answer that
That's clearly
question.
obvious. For the
What
audience's
happens
benefit,
to
I'm
the
now
curve
going to
fraction
circle
zone
what
distortion?
is
happens to
clearly,
the horizon?
obviously,
You
an
understand?
inverted mirage. This
Understand
is what
inverted
we
inversion
call
is
looming.
Not happening to the horizon. In the nose cone image, the inversion is not happening to the horizon. It's only happening to the nose cone. So you don't
Rumpus.
need to worry
Because
about
it is in
not
that
to the horizon.
one zone very near where it's entirely hidden.
Yeah,
Well,
he's saying
no,
it's
that
only
is-
happening to the nose cone. Again, he's inserting his presupposition that the Earth is a sphere, assuming the outcome in his argument. This is begging the question. It's not tolerated here, Rumpus. We don't allow you to presuppose that it's a curve.
Not presupposing anything. I'm asking you just to look at the horizon with a theodolite.
Yeah,
and measure the
you're
angle.
saying the horizon is something that's in the near foreground because you have presupposed we live on a curve. How many times will I tell you not to beg the question here?
But you're disputing that horizon. It's quite obviously the horizon.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
but
not
obviously-
obviously
no,
anything.
Evidently, it isn't. Obviously, it is, but evidently, it isn't because the dog proves it.
No, the dog proves there are different circumstances and different images. We accept that. We know that you can have mirages. And
No,
you can have
Rumpus,
that.
Yeah, we
you
see
can
a
have that
mirage in the
evidence.
Isle of Man
You
as
will
well.
not accept the
You
evidence
can have
because
the
it
dog
conflicts
flying
with,
up here, Anthony. It doesn't
it
change its
conflicts
different
with
conditions.
your tilt angle measurement. It's-
Why are you trying to conflate two different atmospheric conditions?
They're the
Okay.
same. We're seeing the
You
same
know,
effect,
you
you
know Anthony,
moron.
they're different. You're
We're
not
seeing the
really.
same
Can I
effect, you
explain what
moron.
we're seeing in those
Anthony, you're
pictures
not
for a
this
moment
stupid.
using this?
You know
Yeah,
that
I'd
the
like
two
Arwin
different
to explain. Arwin keeps getting cut off by Rumpus, so go ahead,
Everybody
Arwin.
gets keeping cut off by Rumpus.
Anthony, you know these are two different conditions, don't you? You know
Let's
this.
just
You're
let
not this
Arwin have
Yeah.
the mic just for a moment, please.
Yeah. Look, here, if you could present me, you can see the basic effects of standard refraction, which would apply to the island footage, not so much in a direct sense to the dog footage.
Well, I don't know what you're presenting. I can't see you.
Riley, could you please put it back up?
Oh, I
Just
thought you
so
were
that I
presenting.
can look at it at least.
Sorry, I thought you said you were presenting.
Yeah, I know, but I need to look at it myself, what
Right,
you
hang
were
on, hang on.
showing.
Let me get it back on.
Alright.
There we go.
So at least I can see that, yes.
Right, there
So
we go.
What you're seeing with the island, where it's basically
So I don't.
reflecting,
I'm looking at okay, right, okay.
it's
Right.
reflecting that one part of the nose, the tip that's reflecting back. That is actually in the diagram here. That is the red part. It's
No, you don't understand that diagram.
it's waving out, and that is
No, and you're
causing
just denying
mirage type effects
Right.
in that one zone.
You've
where
no
you
idea
can
what that
see.
diagram's doing. You don't even know
And
what the numbers
behind
mean.
there,
What are
behind
those numbers? What are those
Hold
numbers?
on,
Rumpus!
Rumpus. Hold on. Just let him get to the end of his point.
Shut up for a damn second. Jesus. Okay. That one part that is actually reflecting in there, it's a very small part where it seems to be having a mirage type effect. That is the actual red band here, where there is
No, it isn't.
weird reflecting type effects.
You've misunderstood the diagram.
Also, the same for the dog footage and for the legs, by the way. You can see of those two people that their entire leg and a part of their body is also being reflected.
Different
That is
conditions.
a mirage effect in that one band, because it's getting stretched out as the light is bending. And behind there is the vanishing zone,
No such
which
thing.
conceals, well, the large bottom part of whatever is out there in the distance. In this case, the lighthouse would be for a big part hidden in the vanishing zone, and half of the mountain would be hidden in the vanishing zone. But it continues on in a pretty much straight line of sight, because you can see very far into the distance, and it does not drop down out of sight entirely in a cumulative way, proving that despite that slant, which hides a lot of things in that vanishing zone, you can keep on looking as long as there's no obstruction, fogging it up what you see in the distance, and you can see very, very far, pretty much supporting that the Earth is actually flat.
Anthony, if I took another photograph like the one you've got with the dog and everything on a different day with different conditions, and it showed the horizon perfectly, would you not then accept that the conditions are affecting what you can see? And there's not, you're implying that all photographs ever taken conform to this dog image, and you know damn well that the conditions vary and what you will see will vary. So there's no point implying one image conditions to another image's conditions, and you know this.
Unless you have a dog or some point of reference above the apparent horizon, Rumpus, you wouldn't know whether it was a real horizon or not.
We can, you know damn well from the image on the left with the water of the Isle of Man where the horizon is.
No, that's
you do,
my point,
Anthony.
Rumpus.
You do.
No, Rumpus, that's my point.
Right, but you do understand the principle. You're saying that because you've got this dog picture, that
No,
you know that's a transitory condition. So you can't do the logical deduction you've made, which is I've got a picture of a dog doing this, therefore all pictures are subject to this. You know damn well. If you
it's
went
typical
a lot of
land
time talking about the floaty land, Rumpus. We see it a lot over water.
Yes.
It is the reason for the apparent, what you guys call curvature, what we now call.
You see, you're claiming, but you're claiming you're packing into this what you're calling the reference zone all the missing height of the land. There's twice the height that land is missing. It cannot be packed
in the vanishing zone caused by refraction, which bends the light up and thus conceals part of what you actually see in the distance. But there is no cumulative drop of those things in the distance. It doesn't all vanish out of sight.
No, when you don't know what you mean by
on a clear day, you can see very far.
You don't know even what drop means.
Zone caused by refraction. You can see.
So cumulative drop simply means that if you see something at 15 miles and then you see something behind it at 30 miles, there should be exponentially more drop applying to the thing in the distance than to the thing in the foreground. Right. And as Arwin correctly points out, we do not see any cumulative drop.
What do you mean by that? We do.
No, we do not.
No, you don't, Rumpus.
No, you don't. Compatible with a flat Earth. If you had the flat Earth, the mountain would be much harder than it appears. We're missing half of it.
Yeah, due to refraction. Due to refraction. It is in the vanishing zone. I just explained it.
The bottom of it would be obscured. This is the point.
Optical science.
So you think half the mountain is hiding in this zone next to the horizon, do you?
Yes, due to refraction bending the light up. And
no half mountains are missing. This assertion that Rumpus has decided to keep it inserting for no reason with no evidence. There isn't any half mountains missing. They are only obscured at the bottom. That's all we see. None of them are falling further and further around the curvature.
They are.
No, they are not.
If you do the maths, everything
you see straight to if you do the maths. So what Rumpus will now do, predictably as ever, is assume that there is a curve to Earth and that there is light bending around that curve. It is simply begging the question. It is so unbelievably predictable. Your patterns are...
They're incompatible with a flat Earth.
No, they're incompatible with the maths that you assert with an assumption of curvature. That's very different.
It invalidates the flat Earth. The images you've got.
No, your maths does not invalidate anything. Your maths assumes there is a curve, and you have not proven that curve, Rumpus.
Well, actually, half the mountain is probably a bit of exaggeration, actually. But you're missing very substantial portions of the mountain. You're missing substantial portions
it's in the hidden refraction zone.
Yeah, at the bottom. Obscured at the bottom. obscured at the
but
bottom.
you think that, if you're on a flat Earth, that horizon, that black thing, has to be the zero. That's where everything's based.
No, not at all.
That's
Zero.
where
No,
the
that's the
refraction
point.
zone starts.
You not remember the dog
That's
Rumpus?
that's the beginning of the slant. That's what that is.
Just-
It's only
Arwen,
a
if you can
part.
just let
and if you
Anthony
actually migrate
sorry,
the
Arwen,
point
sorry.
of view, like moving up or something,
Arwen,
that point where that starts changes.
Arwen, can you
It
just let
changes its
Anthony?
position.
Anthony just wants to make his point because this is the whole point of the last hour and 3/4.
If the horizon that you see is the actual horizon, the dog cannot be in the same place. The dog has to be on the actual horizon. And your assertion was for £25, you could hire a theodolite, go to the beach, observe the horizon, and measure the angle of tilt.
Correct.
My counter to that is there's the evidence that shows that that test is not reliable for the purposes in which you said it was.
It would be reliable
My
for that
question to
situation
you,
you've got
Rumpus,
there. I'd agree,
do
Anthony.
you accept that the apparent horizon isn't always or necessarily or even accurately the actual horizon?
Correct.
Right.
Excellent.
how
So your
reliable is your
theodolite test is an absolute joke. Total waste of time. Why on earth you asserted it is beyond me. Thank you for taking an hour and a half to realise your own nonsense, as usual.
You're an idiot.
No, ad hominems won't do here, Rumpus. It has now been demonstrated unequivocally that your assertion that we could, rather than actually providing scientific evidence, I might add, we could go and hire a theodolite and prove to ourselves, retrospectively, that there is a curve after taking pictures and levelling transits is, in fact, nonsense.
So if you
I love it when you stutter. Your stutter amuses me greatly. Yes, I'll assert it again. So, Rumpus's assertion that we could go and prove the Earth's curvature with a theodolite for £25 is utter nonsense.
Because you think you can't see the real horizon, I'm amazed you even.
You've just conceded it. Anthony has taken you through the steps, and you have then conceded it. It is a fact that we only are dealing with an apparent horizon. We are not dealing with something that you can measure with straight lines and angles, proving that the Earth is a flat plane, because you are measuring vertical. You cannot do that, because we don't have an actual horizon, we have an apparent horizon. Thank you for your nonsense assertion about what we could and couldn't prove, because you couldn't provide scientific evidence of scientific proof of curvature. Thank you. We have just saved ourselves £25. Thank you very much for your useless information, Rumpus. Thank you.
Is 100 pixels below where it appears to be. My God, that's amazing. That's your argument, is it? You think that
Vanishing
all
zone
horizon is a
vanishing
false horizon.
zone. Vanishing
Unbelievable.
zone.
So, Anthony, you see, the fact that this dog, you know full well that if you went there another day, that.
So what Rumpus is now saying is, you go to the beach with your 25p and theodolite, you come back, and if you've got any refraction in the area that he's saying we should be measuring, then he will disregard the measurement, wasting your 25 quid. Are you just here to waste our money, Rumpus?
And can I
here to
also just
educate
add
you.
to that, Rumpus, going further, that is the exact reason why Sly Sparkane wants us to go to the beach and do observations at the horizon, because he knows as well that you're going to get this layer of dirty air that he calls the inverted mirage that appears to the observer as obstruction. He knows we're going to get that. That's the reason why he keeps asking us to go. Therefore, I can logically and reasonably conclude that you two both know this and you're both out to deceive.
Anthony, if you went there on a cold day or in the evening or dusk for that picture you were looking at with the dog, what
Yeah,
do you
so
think?
now it's down to the
Then the dog
temperature
would
of
be
the day.
displaced downwards slightly
No, the dog
because
would be where
it is being displaced up due to
would not
non-standard
have this
refraction.
mirage effect. So I want to know what Anthony really thinks. Anthony, if you were going down a cool day when there wasn't this mirage stuff, where
So why is it that you're now saying that we could go to the beach with the theodolite for £25, and then when we come back, you would tell us that the day was too cold or too warm? So in other words, it's not as simple as going and buying renting a theodolite for £25. That's just complete nonsense. So we can't just go to the beach and prove it for £25, can we, Rumpus? You would actually conflate your arguments and disapprove of everything we presented, regardless of whether or not we actually followed that
you,
instruction.
Nathan, are not that stupid that you don't realise that you're going to get mirage effects on a hot beach in the hot sunshine.
We are saying that there is a zone where things vanish, and that is down to altitude of observer, something we have asserted on many occasions. Anthony's point that he has just levelled to you is that Sly is continually trying to get people to take their images from the beach, irrespective of the fact that you are conceding that going up higher negates this obstruction formerly known as curvature.
So you think all the size of the mountain, all the Morgold base is all hiding away in some little refraction there? That's incredible.
No, it's not hiding. We have demonstrated this and modelled it on a flat plane. Because it's on a flat plane, we take straight lines and simple angles in order to get our measurements. Coincidentally, the same thing you're doing when you measure the dip angle. You are taking straight lines and simple angles. Even though you're measuring something vertically, on the vertical, that should, by definition, on a curved earth, incorporate that curve into the mathematics. But you do not.
Oh, Owen's got some good Mirage pictures there. You see there. So you know the conditions are varying, and that she's showing the pictures from the document with the oil tanker with the inverted bit above it. So you obviously wouldn't you on a day when that sort of thing is happening. So Anthony,
right, I would like Anthony to now show an example of this, please. Anthony, please can you bring up the long composite of the Isle of Man and find a section that has not got obvious refraction in it? So we can demonstrate to the Rumpus that you could easily take a picture of something and be completely unaware that there was any refraction zone in play whatsoever. So it is not as simple as taking a picture and assuming that the atmospheric conditions are conducive with having an actual horizon. You can only assume those things, Rumpus. You cannot actually determine them simply by measuring things by pixel.
You're arguing over a pixel or two. It's irrelevant to the general scheme of things.
Rumpus, this is what I asked you before.
Predictable. How did I know he'd go straight to the pixels and then within a breath he did? How predictable is Rumpus?
Anthony, do you understand?
You are so predictable, Rumpus, it's untrue.
Hold on, let me have. I haven't had a full sentence from that.
Yeah, that's because I'm pointing out how predictable you are. You are unbelievably predictable, Rumpus. You go to the same arguments every single time, even though they've been demolished, even though they've been absolutely obliterated, even though you've never demonstrated in any way, shape or form any curvature. All you are capable of doing is attacking the evidence that we present because you don't have any for a curve.
I like the evidence. No, I love the evidence you present.
None of it shows a curve, and you have got absolutely no scientific proof of any curve. All you have is presupposition that you have curve. That's all you've got. You've just got the presupposition, that's it.
Close. How many pixels? You keep saying 1 or 2 pixels. How many pixels are there between the dog's feet and what appears to be the apparent horizon? Is that 1 or 2?
To the Isle of Man image, Anthony. You know I was.
In the Isle of... Okay, so we'll do it to the Isle of Man image.
I was going to say, yeah, do it with the Isle of Man.
How many pixels are there from what appears to be the bit where it bends back on itself? So it's about here somewhere, down to the horizon. How many pixels?
If you were doing a theodolite measurement, you'd be measuring from the crosshairs to the horizon. That would not feature in the measurement.
Right, and if you measured to the horizon,
do you understand that? Do you understand?
Then that would appear artificially lower than what it should be, correct?
Do you appreciate that if you were doing the measurement with the theodolite, you'd be measuring from the crosshairs? I'll do that. It's a very important point I'm about to make here. The measurement from the crosshairs to the horizon does not include messing around with that nose cone. The measurement you'd be making would be from the crosshairs to the horizon.
So
let's
we
can clearly see where the horizon is. So that what that nose cone is doing is utterly irrelevant to the measurement.
So is the measurement to the horizon nothing to do with the dog either?
Well, obviously the dog's not on the horizon. You want the thing that's the horizon, not where the dog is, because that's got height.
So is the horizon where the dog's feet are, or is the horizon where it appears to be?
Anthony, you know this is a mirage. You might as well be pointing me at a picture of an...
Right, in the same way we know the entire Isle of Man is looming. So the dog is looming, and so is the Isle of Man. So that's his point, Rumpus. So when we have this situation where things are looming, we don't have an accurate horizon.
The horizon is not loomed very much. Only
the entire Isle of Man is looming. That's your definition of it. When we have a situation where things are looming, we don't have an accurate horizon.
Slightly looming.
Arwin, we don't have an accurate horizon. We only have an apparent horizon.
No, it's good enough. It's good enough.
It's good enough.
No, it isn't
good
enough.
Just about good enough for Rumpus.
The Isle of Man image is accurate enough to work out with the horizon.
Rumpus, we're talking about angles that are measured in 0.0 of a degree.
Exactly. Let me just point out that Rumpus wants us to go to the beach with an extremely accurate tool, and yet his attitude towards the actual thing we're observing is, it's good enough. It's good enough. We don't need this accurate tool, do we, Rumpus? You're just trying to waste our money. What's the deal there? Why are you telling us to go to a beach with a theodolite, something that's accurate, and then you're telling us that it doesn't matter? It's good enough. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems like you're covering the fact that you don't have any scientific proof of Earth curve.
You're just trying to disguise the fact that the images support my position and the fact that
Do they now? They support your assertion. They don't. They don't support your presuppositional argument that the Earth is a curve, Rumpus. They absolutely do not support that position. They only support the mathematics that is based on that presupposition, and that to me is laughable. So don't assert that it supports your situation in terms of your lack of Earth curve, because it doesn't. There is no curve. There's no curve there.
Pretty much everything that we're proposing, everything we're saying, you're constantly dodging, constantly switching to another subject.
No, okay.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're constantly avoiding everything we say.
Well, you're doing it right now. You're obfuscating the point. Your claim is that the actual horizon is the horizon we see.
Yes.
But the dog proves that it's not, and the land above it proves that it's not. But you want us to measure to the horizon with a theodolite.
Why are you constantly talking over him, Rumpus?
And measure the radius of the Earth based on this.
I can't
believe utter nonsense, Rumpus.
Bloody phone call.
Saved by the Bell.
Delicious silence. No more Rumpus rattling.
Yeah. Saved by the Bell. Got a couple of minutes left. I don't know if any of you want to make a point while Rumpus is on mute and you can talk uninterrupted.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Well, I don't think we need Rumpus anymore.
Oh, I don't think anybody needs him really. But although it is quite amusing to.
So basically, Rumpus's point is that the apparent horizon is the actual horizon, despite the evidence that shows that the dog cannot be floating on the air or being loomed up. The dog is clearly stood on the ground. We are getting a mirage, but he wants you to point the theodolite at the lower part so that you can calculate the radius of the Earth, because his model requires that because it needs to tip down. That's why Rumpus has to make that point. He knows this, and he's obfuscating the point. And Sly Sparkane knows this. That's why he wants us to go down to the beach level to do it. They both know about this, and they're deceiving people by telling you that's the curvature of the Earth, that's the radius. You can calculate the radius of the Earth if you do it. Yet we have just proven to everybody with half a brain that it's not the apparent horizon is not what it appears to be. It can be anywhere where it is, and it doesn't mean that we're seeing the curve of the Earth, and we certainly can't calculate no radius from it.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the live audience. Oh, where's my camera working? That's frustrating. Oh, I'll do it with the photos. That's annoying. Let's just try once more. No, definitely doesn't want to work. Oh, well, that's a bummer. Well, anyway, I'll say once more a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video, hopefully with a working camera.